Welcome everyone to Tales from the 90s. This is our bonus episode number 14. I do one of these once a month, and it covers like any topic I feel like talking about. Chose video games this month because November's in the past been like a notorious month for video games coming out because of course Black Friday and everybody buying them up for Christmas. So I just decided to talk about video games this month. Alright guys, so this is the intro before the intro. What I did is I recorded this podcast, like myself talking about video games. Then I did an interview with my wife, and then I did on video, and then I did a phone interview with my brother. And hopefully the sound quality on that's good. I'm gonna do every trick I can to make sure turn up the audio, just to make sure. But throughout my part of the thing, I'll be saying over and over like, oh, if this interview's on here, because I wasn't sure time-wise whether I'd be able to get these in, but they're included. First, we're gonna go. I'm gonna talk to my brother on the phone, talk all about video games, a lot of our shared history of video games, and also some of his stuff he's experienced. Then we're gonna get to a portion where I talk to my wife about her video game experiences as a kid, and then together when we played video games once we got together, and then we'll get to my part. And I'm sorry it's like an hour and 45 minutes, but. You're talking about video games, I can talk about it forever. So we're going to get to the actual, we're going to go to my brother Josh's interview, then my wife's interview, and then you'll get the intro to the actual video and my part of it. So all that's there. Thank you for joining me, and here we go. Alright, we got a special part here of our video for our bonus episode for video game memories. I'm on the phone with my brother Josh. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Been talking a lot about video games and thinking a lot about video games. What are your earliest memories of playing video games?
Oh,
that you can
on
think
the
of?
first PlayStation, probably. Well, I could go back to like when we were real little and we started playing. I guess it was the NES.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you remembered that because you might have been like 3 or 4 when we had that.
I remember we had like the Friday 13th, and
yeah,
Turtles.
Yeah, those, and of course Mario and Duck Hunt. Yeah.
Jeez, those were fun.
Yeah, those are definitely some fun games. I remember that when the Nintendo broke down, we used it and act like we were pretending to be on Star Trek, like it was our command center or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. We used to make a lot of things out of nothing, like wrestling rings, and make just anything out of just stuff laying around the house and make it like a full game out of it.
Yeah, that's what poor people do. We just come up with stuff of whatever we have. Like I had nothing to do with video games, but all the things we played football and baseball with.
Yeah, not to mention making a wrestling ring out of a PlayStation cord.
And suspenders.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did use a PlayStation cord for that. Do you remember?
I remember.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I remember the NES, and then we jumped right to PlayStation, if I remember right.
Yeah, well, kind of in between that, I don't know if you remember, but you had a Game Boy at Granny's, I think. That might have been after the PlayStation.
The non-colored Game Boy.
Yeah, all I the King of the Ring game on it, and we couldn't figure out which one of the people we were or who it even was. It says it was this person, but they all looked the same, and there's like 4 or 5 moves.
Well, the issue I think it was Warzone, and you couldn't get up. Remember, you would have to roll.
Oh yeah.
You get knocked down, and you just have to roll, and like I could never figure out how to stand up after you get down.
Yeah, those games made by Acclaim were horrible. We'll talk about when we get to the Nintendo 64, but they definitely got a lot better with wrestling games. But yeah, that for PlayStation, it didn't last long. I'm sure you remember why.
We kept putting it on top of the TV. For some reason,
I know.
The cords were in the way of the TV.
I don't know if that was a Marky Faux thing, or we thought it had to be on top of the TV, but one of us would and I don't know why we're yanking on it. It's not motion control, but we'd pull on it, and I don't know how many times it failed, but it eventually stopped working.
It lasted for a good while, though, but yeah.
Do you remember any of the games we played on it?
Well, we started off on the demos.
Yeah.
We had like a demo disc.
Yeah, that's something they don't have really today because digital everything. But back then they had tons of demos. Of course, they had the PlayStation Magazine, which we never had. But when you got that, you got like a demo each month, I think, with that.
I think you could play like a couple minutes of each game, and it had Papa the Rapper on it.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out what that was, but that commercial was on all the time. It had like an old grandma in it or something, and we were like expecting like the old grandma to be in the game, but she wasn't.
Yeah, it started off with demos, but I'm not sure if we actually had a full game, did we?
I know one we had was called Spider, if you remember that one.
Spider, yes, we did have a full game of that.
It's like a person that was like in a lab, and you got turned into a spider, and it had a gun and a knife, and it was crazy.
We would take turns until someone died and then passed it on.
Yeah.
I still try to find that game
me
from
too.
time to time.
I have a feeling a lot of those games are like the actual games themselves are like super expensive.
Yeah.
Of course,
PlayStation offers like a classic log, you know.
Yeah.
But it's never on there.
Yeah, I know. I look for it too on there on PlayStation Plus. And one system that we played a ton was definitely Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that's a lot of our memories was on that.
Yeah, of course. Mario Party. All those. We played that all the time. And then, remember Mario Kart 64?
Yep, that started the Mario Karts. That was a good game.
Well, there was one on Super Nintendo, but we never played that. Yeah, we never had a Super.
Anyways, I guess.
Yeah, we never had a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis. I ended up getting those like as I grew up, like as an adult. But that was.
Did you use it as a CD player?
The Sega Saturn. Somebody had a yard sale and they couldn't sell it because this was like early 2000s and that was like way out of date. So I got it and all I did was use it as a CD player. But do you remember some of your favorite games from Nintendo 64?
Well, all the wrestling ones were good.
Yeah,
like the WC Revenge.
Yeah, that's the first one I think we had, and that game was like a million times better than those other games where you couldn't even figure out what to do.
And then WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah.
Which was made by the same people, right?
Yeah. They took over. They were with WCW, but then I guess WWF got their contract or whatever. That's when WCW started making horrible games. Like that Backstage Assault. I don't know if you ever played that, but it had no ring and the graphics were horrible. But then, of course, the one game that everybody says is probably the best wrestling game of all time, No Mercy.
Oh, that came after 2000.
Yeah. I for some reason prefer 2000 a little bit more than No Mercy. Do you remember the glitch with No Mercy that had us like throwing things?
I'm not sure about that one.
It was, and I found out later it was only on the first releases of the games. It's where our data would just delete out of nowhere. Everything we did, gone.
I remember because we had to keep it on for a while.
Yeah, we were so mad. And then we got a memory card, luckily, and got to transfer everything. It was like $500,000 to buy Godfather's hoe. It was so stupid. And like immediately once we realized we could take things off of characters, we went in to take Kane's mask off, and it was just like a burnt face. Like we were like expecting. I was
going to ask you if you remember that.
Yeah, because we'd seen pictures of what Kane actually looked like, so we were expecting that, and it was just like a blur burnt face. It was so stupid.
Yeah, at least it wasn't like Chinese or something.
Yeah. Do you remember Steve making RVD?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I told that when later in the video, people find out it looked like his sister.
Yep. Oh gosh.
Yeah, we played all kinds of stuff on there. Bio Freaks, of course.
I still look for that game too.
Yeah, I have it on emulator, so I can play it on there. But like, as far as like, I wish they would have that as like a classic download or something. I mean, that's one of a lot of the games we got were just like games Mom and Steve would like pick up. I don't know if they'd find them on discount or something, But like Biofreak seems like a game we never would have wanted on our own. But when we got it, we like played it until we beat everything on it.
Remember getting to the very end of it and you had to beat that big colossal thing with the missiles?
Yeah, and another one we played a lot was Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, that was fun.
Do you remember? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you threw the ball, it had a little shadow underneath it.
Yeah. That was probably
I remember from it.
Yeah, that was probably the funnest basketball game I've ever played. Like, it was easy to play, but it wasn't like super easy to where, there was no skill involved. It was like everything was like perfect with it. I can't remember if it was Ready to Rumble or one of the boxing games. But you remember, like the easiest one to beat on there was Mayweather. If you remember that.
Is that the one that had big afro on the cover?
Yeah. It was like, and we would like make fun of each other, like, you can't even beat Mayweather. And it turns out later on Mayweather like becomes one of the biggest fighters ever. But he was like the least ranked on this game, and like anybody could beat him.
I think that was Knockout Kings.
Yeah, Knockout Kings. That's what it was. Ready to Rumble was another.
It had Ali. It had Ali on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayweather was super fast on that game, but he was so little. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember Quake 64?
Yeah, I actually still play on that on a PlayStation.
Oh, that's cool.
And a computer.
Yeah, that's not. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we kept the same thing. We would play until someone died and just move the controller around.
Yeah. Another fun we played was Road Rash with the motorcycles.
With the bats and the yeah. Did that game's come a long way? There was a Road Rash for N64 that was updated from the one Steve was playing on the computer.
Ah. Yeah, I remember Steve playing games on there. We weren't allowed to play. We just had to sit and watch it, like the Redneck Rampage. That game was so hilarious.
Yeah, you play that in Doom.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of playing anything on Sega Dreamcast? I know it was mine, and when I was moving, I was going back and forth between where we lived and then my grandpa's house, so it wasn't there all the time. But I don't know if you had any memories of it.
Definitely Sonic.
Yeah, especially that first level with the whale when you got to like run backwards from it.
That was like a full-on game, wasn't it? It wasn't just running through obstacles. Like, you had like a storyline.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It had you had different characters. That was probably my favorite Sonic game of all time, if not one of my favorite games of all time. Do you remember when
look for that one again.
Yeah, I have it on the PS3. Is like when I bought it. That and Sonic Adventure 2. There was a second one. I don't know if you ever played that. It's just as good. But I don't know if they still sell them. But that was back when they actually sold them, so I actually have it. But do you remember the ECW wrestling game, which is kind of like the same as the Warzone and Attitude, where you had to you couldn't even figure out what buttons to push. You had to hit pause and go to the menu and find the actual moves to do. You remember that?
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah, it was pretty hard.
The biggest thing I remember about it was I turned that character blue, and it completely fried my Dreamcast. Remember, we had to go on the. I think it was me and you went on the bus to Kenwood Mall because they had like one left. Because I think Steve had got me a bunch of Dreamcast games for Christmas, and he knew if my Dreamcast was dead, the presents would be wasted, so he gave me the money to go get it.
Yeah, was it expensive back then?
I think it was $50 then, because I think this was like 2001, because it had already been discontinued already. But,
the controllers were like a way advanced. They like had that little square. You could put like a memory card in it.
Yeah, it was called a VMU because you could actually, like with Sonic, you could there's like little creatures you can grow in like a garden, and they actually go on that thing. And if you take it out, it works as like almost like a little Game Boy type thing. And it was also a memory card. Yeah, they were so advanced that I don't know how they went out of business and just started making games. I mean, I know the PS2 and Xbox kind of took them over, but still, I thought they would have stuck around longer.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time. They were like making technology that wasn't really out yet, and then I don't remember them actually using that, except for what you're saying. That
They didn't do much with it. They could have done a whole lot more with that, I think. And you could actually link that up with another person's and like trade things on there. It's just either I didn't have all the games that took that, or they just didn't get far enough into it. But
was that their last system?
Yeah, that was the last Sega they made, which I was waiting for them to make another one, but they just decided to focus just on making games, and then even then they don't do that a whole lot anymore. They probably make a ton of money off the Sonic movies. They don't even have to do anything now.
I was going to say, so is that it for Sega, except for the old stuff?
Yeah. They came out with the first Sega, which I think was just like called the Sega Master System, which I've never even played. Then the Genesis, and then they had like the Sega CD and the 32X, which kind of like came out at the same time, and then Sega Saturn, and then the Dreamcast. And it was like I'd seen a documentary on it where it was like they were trying the Sega of Japan was trying to make the Sega of USA like release stuff quicker than it needed to be. That's why a lot of their systems flopped. Like the Saturn, it came out like right after they came Sega CD, and it was like too much at once, and people couldn't afford it, and they kind of turned to other game systems.
Right. That's what's happening with Nintendo, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But like when I was like 9 or so, even though I didn't own them at the time, the big war at the time was like in the early 90s was always like Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo. Like there was like I remember kids on the playground like having arguments and fights over like which one was better. But I know whenever you were a teenager, the pretty much the war was PlayStation 2 versus Xbox. And Travis had an Xbox. Yeah, Travis had an Xbox and you had a PS2. Even though
we would fight over it.
Yeah. Travis is another matter though with his you can I buy a game for it and you can use it. Oh, you can't use the Xbox now. That's a whole other conversation.
Or it'd be like that's why, or I'd be mad at him like, well, that's why you have an Xbox.
Yeah.
Remember, because he had that wrestling game and The Rock would raise the wrong hand.
I know the wrestling games for the Xbox were horrible. Like the first Raw game, like it only had one arena, and it just the graphics and the controls were so clunky. And then you would like bust open boxes and you like a Viking helmet to put on your head, and like, woo, what? Who cares?
See, when the Xbox came out, like they did it right. I just feel like they rushed it a little. I mean, I don't know. Technology wasn't.
Yeah. Like I love the fact that you could download music onto it and use it in games. That's like something like so cool. That the
design was like way cool.
Yeah, the Xbox, like the first controller was a little weird. That's why they released other ones. Like I don't know if you remember the very first controller with the giant Xbox logo in the middle. It was almost double the size of the Dreamcast controller, I think.
Yeah.
And it had like the white and black buttons and stuff. But the one game for Xbox that I always love, like my favorite football game of all time, ESPN NFL 2K5.
Yep, those were always the best and the easiest ones to use.
Yeah, they had it for PS2, but I like the Xbox one more because you could actually use the music. You remember the crib where you could like put posters on your wall and you play paper football in there?
Yeah. Hey, real quick, do you notice how we never got into like Madden?
Yeah, I know. I actually liked the Madden that came out that year too, but we were always more into the 2K games. It started with the Dreamcast and also like playing NFL Blitz. That game was crazy.
That was a fun game.
I know. It's like a game that like anybody could play. Like I played that with my kids when they were like 3 or 4, and they were able to beat me without me even letting them because it's just crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't like it is now where it's like pay to win. It was just like have some fun with your friends, and I missed those type of games.
Me too. Like I enjoy being able to buy things for games if possible, but it seems like that they keep stuff out purposely just for that reason. You know what I mean?
With the new WWEs for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of some good PlayStation 2 wrestling games, those early SmackDown games like Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain. There was so much in those. Like all the... Sorry, go ahead.
You could dive off the fist.
Oh, I know. Or there's a one where you can go into Times Square and jump off like a helicopter. It was crazy. And then...
I think they had the TLC matches that worked pretty well, too.
Yeah. And they had, like, the first Elimination Chamber, which was really cool. And, of course, the SmackDown versus Raw was really good, too. I remember I think you got that for Christmas one year, and, like, we played that nonstop.
So is it just me, or is, like, all those SmackDown games and then the SmackDown versus Raw, weren't the controls a lot easier than, like, the WWE 2K?
Oh, yeah. Version? It's hard for me to play the newer games because they change the controls all the time, but they're just so much harder. It was so simple then. Hit X to do the strikes, and I can't remember the square or circle for grapples. It was like, it was simple, but it was like if you press down harder on it, it unlocks more moves. And it was like I said, it was like simple, but it was also like it didn't seem like you were just pushing a couple buttons. It seemed like there was a lot of moves available to you.
Yeah, I feel like this newer stuff is trying to make it more realistic, but it's kind of taking the fun out of it, because if you don't know how to roll out of a pin, you lose.
Yeah, I lose a lot of times because of that. I know one like series of games that you really loved was the Tony Hawk games.
Yeah, and they're starting to come out with those. They're remastered, but
yeah, I wonder how those are.
They're good. They're pretty similar. They've taken some of the skaters that took some of the skaters out and added some other ones. But it's pretty fun. The graphics are good, and I remember playing them as a kid. It was a lot of fun.
Well, that reminds me of another game. It was on Dreamcast. Do you remember playing Dave Mirra's BMX with me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we unlocked the Slim Jim guy. I remember when I didn't have a memory. Yeah, I remember when I didn't have a memory card for that system, and we just left it on. It's probably what led to it dying. I ended up having 3 of those Dreamcasts. The last one I sold to Travis, and I regret it now because I wish I had the Dreamcast still. I think I sold it in for like $20, like 2008 or something. It was $20.
Do you remember the rules he would make?
Huh?
How we make our own rules up? Remember
Yeah.
we used to make up our own rules. So, like, if you're playing football and you take a knee, do you remember what happens?
You had to let the other person get your controller, and they can do a play, do whatever they want for a play. I think it was.
Yeah.
So you ain't taking a knee on me. Oh, do you remember the obviously the Grand Theft Auto games, but those were like so different than like nowadays you got to wait 20 years for the next one to come out.
Yeah, what did we have? 3?
Yeah, 3 for Xbox. We ended up, and then we got Vice City and San Andreas. I think we had for Xbox and PlayStation 2. I think we've had at different times. Which, of course, with the Xbox, you could actually, and the car radio, you could actually tune to your Xbox music. But I mean, those games were so fun.
Yeah, San Andreas made you where you had to eat.
Yeah, and you go to the chicken restaurant or the pizza, and you can go get your hair cut and everything else. I remember us with like notebooks full of cheat codes for that too.
Yeah, because we didn't have Google on our phones.
I know. If we'd have had that, we could have just looked it up and bookmarked the page. But no, we literally wrote down like square, triangle, and we get the tank or get in a plane and fly into like an area we hadn't unlocked and immediately get 6 stars or 5 stars. I can't remember what it was. Where the freaking army would come after you.
Yeah, those are some good days. We used to have to go to the library and get cheat codes.
Yeah, that's what we had to do because we didn't have internet there either. No phones, no internet, just go to the library. Did you ever play any of the, ever play Nintendo Wii or anything like that?
I played bowling, I believe.
Yeah,
bowling and boxing.
Yeah, that was on Wii Sports. I think that's like the disc that comes with it. Yeah, we had a Wii here. We had all kinds of, we had Mario Party for like, because we could also play GameCube games. So we had Mario Party. I'm talking about we as in my wife and kids. Mario Party like 6, 7, and 8, which are just really fun. Yeah, but I didn't know if you'd actually owned a Wii or anything. We had a Wii U too. It didn't last long, but I don't know if you know what the Wii U is.
No, I remember the Wii, but I have a Switch. Switch.
How's that to play?
It's pretty fun. You can take the controller and split it in half, kind of, and then like have like someone use that controller, like they can turn it in a certain way.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you can you get one controller. It's crazy. Like it's a tablet type thing. I'm probably not making any sense, but like if you look at it, there's a screen on each side. There's like handles. Take those handles off, and you can put them together and make one controller. Or you can give someone half of it, and they can turn it sideways, and then you both can play off the same screen.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've definitely been wanting to get one of those. Of course, I had a PS4 and you have a PS5 too, right?
Yeah, I got a PS5. I started.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I started getting into PC, see what that's like.
How's that been going?
It's fun. You can do a lot of mods and stuff like that. I'm not very well educated on the PC yet, so I'm still learning. But
yeah, me either. I don't have a gaming PC, so I'm limited to like basic games on my computer. Maybe someday I'll get one. But I was going to ask, so is there a big graphical difference between PS4 and PS5, like noticeable, or how do you think like the graphics have all just like reached the level that they can't get any better?
Well, that's a tough one. I haven't had them side by side, but I would say they are better. But when it first came out, remember how hard it was to get one?
Yeah.
Like you had to. I think I had to wait a whole year because they kept selling out, or people would buy them online and sell them for twice the price.
I know, that was ridiculous.
I don't think it's worth that much for the difference, but I know they're pretty nice. They're really fast too.
Yeah, I know that I got the latest game system I got is a PS4, and I got baseball. I think the earliest game I got for baseball was like I think it's the Show 22, and it was the first year where you could build your own stadium, but they don't have it on the PS4. They're like, oh, the PS4 is not capable. I don't know if they were just saying that or just as a reason to get you to get the PS5. Because I was like, it's cool, I'm going to be able to build. Yeah. I thought I'd be able to build my own baseball stadium, but I got to get a PS5 for that.
Are they still making PS4 games?
I don't know if they are or not. I heard that I think even PlayStation Plus is going to stop maybe sometime next year for PS4, which sucks. I'll either have to get a new system or just be stuck with what I got. But, unless they change their mind on that. But I don't know if they're actually making new PS4 games or not. Because we've just been playing what we have, and then PlayStation Plus when we can afford it.
Yeah.
But if you could pick, like, I don't know if it'd be or if it'd be easy, but could you like pick maybe like a favorite game of all time, like, or would that be too hard? Because that's a hard question.
Oh man, that is a tough one.
Or just maybe a few of them or something.
Yeah, I liked playing. Now, later on, when I started playing PS5, I liked playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I was playing with my brothers and stuff from Kentucky. But I would say my all-time favorite... I started... Like, that Jurassic Park, Jurassic Evolution, that's pretty fun. Hours. And I didn't know if anybody knew this, but I started playing Farming Simulator. Put some hours. I would say Farming Simulator is probably my number 2. Number 1 would probably be... Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a hard question because we played so many games.
What about you? I'll think about mine, but what about you?
I'm torn between a few, like Sonic Adventure for Dreamcast might be my favorite. For like favorite wrestling game though, like as much as I love those on Nintendo 64, it might be SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for PS2. I think that was the perfect mix of like realistic gameplay, but also arcade stuff, like jumping off fists and I remember there was like one set, like it was like an England set where you find the right place and you climb up the giant Tron and jump off of that one. But that and like probably Super Mario. I don't even know if you played it, but Super Mario Brothers 2 for the original Nintendo. Those are probably my top 3 right there.
Yeah, I would say my number 1 is probably Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah,
that game was just so... It was so easy. It wasn't like you had to double think or overthink anything. You could just play.
Yeah. And like... It was like now it's just like... It's hard to even figure out what to do on the modern wrestling games. Like there's so many modes.
Yeah, I was just like, you can't just make a character and let him run through like career mode and win the title. Like,
yeah, even that's difficult.
It's overcomplicated.
And then they add the ability to download created characters, which is cool, and to play with people online, which is cool. But then a year and a half later, they shut the servers for it down because they want you to get the newer game. So it's. I remember I didn't connect. I had a PS2 when I lived in Indiana, like way after I'd left Norwood, and I can't remember, it was one of the SmackDown versus Raw games. I think it was the first one that had the ability to play online, and this was maybe like 10 years later, and you still could go to the servers and play that. It wouldn't surprise me if it still exists.
So on those games, do you have to buy them, or can you win them, like face them and win them type thing, like the old games?
You talking about just facing people online?
Well, like the newer games, like you know how like you'd have a career mode, and like if you wrestled them and you beat them, you could play them as a playable character.
There's
to buy them?
Yeah, there's unlockables, but you could actually buy like I think it's called like the season pass where it unlocks everything. You don't have to do that, but I think for some characters you actually do. And then of course there's all the pre-orders where. And I've seen, like, I think the last game that came out, they had, like, an NWO version, an Undertaker version, where you have to pre-order it, for one, but then also you get, like, an extra 2 characters or something. But then if you don't pre-order the other one, then you don't get those characters, or later on you have to pay for them. It's just too much, I think.
Yeah, because not to mention you're already spending $70 on the game.
Yeah.
You know?
And then the special pre-order bonus edition, you're probably spending another $20 on it. Yeah, but still, I mean, there's definitely advantages to like the newer games and stuff compared to the older ones. But I really like how you can just pick up the older ones and play it. You don't have to worry about internet connection or updated systems. But
yeah, because I think the new one, it doesn't even have like you have to pay or win to play The Rock, Austin, like all of our favorite guys.
I think so. It's
just a
it's
big
greed
no for me, I think.
I like when you can go to the SmackDown Mall and unlock Linda McMahon.
Oh yeah, and then all the different Dude Loves, get all of those. Man, it was fun, definitely fun.
Yeah, but definitely had a lot of fun playing video games. That's why when I decided to do this, I was just gonna talk about games instead of trying to rank them all. Because first of all, you talk about games and you forget later. You're later like, I forgot this game. So instead of ranking them, I just decided to do this episode is just a whole bunch of talking about video games. But yeah. Thanks for joining me. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I'd like to do this again. This is fun.
Yeah, it is. We can pick a different subject. If we did another Marky Fo radio show, that might be like the longest episode ever. Just go through all the memories of back then.
I was hoping that we didn't, we wouldn't start talking about video games and then trail on to that.
Yeah, I was like,
we had to stay on topic.
Yeah, if we didn't stay on topic, this would be like an hour into talking about, oh, you remember that time you came home drunk? Although, we're going to be like, which time was that?
Which time?
Not even which time, like which day of the week. Yeah, but we definitely should do this again.
I'm glad you do this podcast. Like, I love listening to it while I'm at work. It kind of makes my day go by easy.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I let a few episodes.
Huh?
Go ahead. I let a few episodes build up, and then I just binge.
Yeah, that's cool. I put out like I try to keep them around an hour or less, but it depends on what I just get going on some topic or something. But yeah, they're still fun to do. And of course, I had to take 2 weeks off because of the hospital crap. Finally got back to recording though.
I'm glad that's all over with, right?
Me too. Hopefully, I got a doctor appointment tomorrow, just like a follow up from because they always make you go to the doctor after you get out of the hospital just to make sure everything's okay. But yeah, it's been crazy, but yeah, these are a lot of fun. And the actual bonus episode I'm doing next month is I don't know if you remember, I wrote a book about Granny's house. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Did you do it in the woods?
No. I had enough time in the woods. I could have wrote a book. Reasons why I'm here.
You still have it?
Yeah, it's actually about Christmas time and like going over to Granny's and what it meant to all of us and stuff. And
I like to read.
I'm actually gonna just like read it on the podcast and like give any more like comments because it's been like 10 years since I wrote it. But that's actually gonna be out sometime next month. Although by the time
gonna be good because you're gonna have memories that you don't remember right now.
Yeah. That's the main reason I started this podcast is like, just in case when I get older and forget some of this stuff, I want to try to get it out while I still remember everything, just to have. Especially if I'm ever old and senile and can't remember anything, I just put on this like, oh yeah, that's what I used to be like.
I dread the day we don't remember what Market Foe meant.
I know. I think the last podcast I was talking about when we went back to his house and we opened up his classic like 1960s beers and poured them out. Just to do it.
You know he was mad about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely another episode we can just whenever you have the time.
Yeah, let me know because I'll definitely jump on that.
Yeah, it'll probably be sometime after like the New Year or something. Because I don't know what other bonus episodes I'm doing then. I try to do one of these once a month, and then my weekly ones are just sticking to like the year and a month of whatever I'm talking about. But these, I can just call them bonus episodes, just that way I can talk about anything. It don't have to be just the 90s and stuff. Yeah, but this is fun.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad you were able to get on here. I'll talk to you later.
All right, love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, time for the interview portion of this. I'm here with my wife. We just got done playing the Lego Party game on Netflix.
It was fun.
It was. A lot of it reminds me of Mario Party.
Just harder to control.
Yeah, I don't like the controls on the controller. That's one thing about the mobile games I don't like is when they have a controller on the screen, it's hard to deal with. But that's new games. Why don't we go back to some of your earliest memories of video games?
Oh God.
Just whatever you remember.
Let's see. Tetris.
So I'm guessing the first game system you played was the regular Nintendo.
Actually, the first game I played, I actually played an Atari.
I never got to play one.
But it was Pong.
Yeah, only so much you can do with that.
But Tetris, my dad, oh my God, he beat the game. I didn't even know you could beat the game, and he did. And then there was Lolo, which probably not many people even know what it is. It's these two little fluff balls. One is blue and one is pink. And they kidnap the pink one, and and the blue one has to go find her. And it's like a castle, but like it's hard to explain. But you go in and it is all puzzles. All it is puzzles. And it's really fun. The basis of the game is you go and rescue the pink fuzzball. And like I said, it's actually fun. It's like brain teasers, but like you have to get through without getting hit by the enemy, and it's kind of hard. but fun. Zelda, another one my dad beat. And then there was Super Mario Brothers, the original, which again my mom and dad beat together.
Which was your favorite Mario on the original Nintendo?
3.
And mine was 2.
I loved 3. It was my favorite. Did you know 2 was actually a Japanese edition? Oh, sorry.
I told the whole story on here.
Oh, oops. Okay.
It's okay.
You can cut that out.
Or leave it.
Trying to think if I played the original Ninja Turtles game. I sucked.
Especially that underwater level.
It was so hard. Oh, I'm good at underwater levels. I'm real good at them.
Well, nobody's good at that one, though.
Yeah. And then onto the Super Nintendo, Super Mario World, the one with Yoshi.
The very first Super Mario World.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was pretty much Super Mario 3 on steroids. Did you ever play the original Mario Kart?
No. And then there was Sega. And the only game I really played on Sega was Sonic.
The original Sonic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that game gives me headaches, unfortunately.
And then, was it Nintendo 64, the Castle game?
Super Mario 64?
Yep. And then the one the Dreamcast. And we just kind of played that together. I don't even remember the games really.
Sword of the Berserk, Guts Rage, the one with the sword.
The sword one was so hard because you had to keep starting over.
Yep.
And then we both beat together. We beat the Sonic games on there. Sonic 1 and 2.
Yep.
Did we ever beat 3?
But there was no 3.
There was no 3. What am I thinking of? That was.
I don't know. We beat 1 together, but I'd beaten that before. But 2. We played in VV on the Dreamcast, and then I ended up selling the Dreamcast to Travis, which I should have kept. No offense, Travis, but I should have just kept my Dreamcast because I want it now. But then we got it. We moved here, and a couple years later, we got it digital on PlayStation 3, and that's where we both beat it.
Okay.
Because I never even played that game until we got together. I don't know if there's any other Dreamcast games you played. You played the Chef Love Shack, the game show on. For South Park.
I didn't like it. I mean, some of it was funny. But others I just didn't understand because I didn't really watch South Park at the time. I'm trying to go back and forth between, like I said, PlayStation 1 games, Legend of Dragoon.
Is that the one that had 4 discs?
Yeah. That's the one that's like $100 if you buy it now. Or even back whenever I got it from the people that I got it from at VV's yard sale, it was $10. They were selling it for $10, and I was extremely happy to see that because when I looked into buying it before that, it was like $80, $90, and now it's like $100 and something.
I just got reminded of a game I forgot to talk about during the video, and I don't know where your interview is going to go in the video, but talk about it now because you played it with me. The BMX game, where you do, it's like Tony Hawk, but it's on a bike. Mm-hmm. And we got to unlock the Slim Jim guy. I forgot to talk about that earlier. Dave Mirra's BMX is what it was called. We both played the crap out of that game.
And we also played Tony Hawk.
The first level. Because I had the demo disc and that was the only level on there. Did you ever play Tony Hawk on anything else or by yourself or anything?
Not one New Year's Eve. I watched a whole bunch of people play it, but I didn't because I sucked.
Yeah, I suck at that game. I'm good at the first level thanks to the demo disc, but that's about it.
There was this game called Toomba. And,
on PlayStation 1?
Yeah. And he looks like a pink-haired troll, and he fights evil pigs. It's fun, and it's funny, and I really liked it.
Speaking of that, did you ever play Kirby on any of the Nintendos?
Yes, I did, but I sucked.
Any more PlayStation 1 memories?
So I'm trying. I think that's it.
By the way, did you own any of these systems? Like, play on any of these systems, or was it other people's?
Until we met, it was just other people's.
So you never had your own Nintendo,
well,
or?
Mom and Dad had a Nintendo. So whenever I was a kid, yeah, I had a Nintendo. But other than that, it's all...
So you never had a Game Boy or anything like that? So no, you wouldn't have any Game Boy memories?
I had a Game Boy, and all I played on it was Tetris.
Oh.
It's the only game I had. And then the Xbox, we played... was it the Tiger Woods?
Yeah, Tiger Woods. I talked about it too. The Tiger Woods Pro Golf 2004.
Yeah, that was fun. And my favorite part of it was the mini game where we tried. It's almost like the Tony Hawk, where you
like
got
horse, but on that it's forget what it is on Tony Hawk. I forget what the word is. But
yeah,
it's like the basketball game of horse.
Yeah,
where you outdo each other. And there's also the one with, I think it was in the golf too, but I know it was in Tony Hawk, where you do tricks and you color it your color, and the other person has to do a higher one.
That's what I was talking about.
I thought you were talking about the one where you spell horse, but it's...
Oh, did I don't know.
There's both of them.
There's both of them, and we played the hell out of that game. And then on to the PS3.
Well, before we leave the Xbox, I know a game you enjoyed playing on there was the Carmen Sandiego game.
Oh yeah, I did. That one was fun too.
I don't remember if you played any other Xbox games.
No, not really. And then on to PlayStation 3.
You didn't even talk about PlayStation 2.
Oh, 2. I don't remember PlayStation 2 games very well.
Well, that's where you had all those Spyro games, and you probably didn't play it. You probably didn't play it a lot, but
yeah.
I'll just leave that out.
Sorry,
I'll just leave that out if you want to go to PlayStation 3.
I'm trying to think if there's any other PlayStation 2 games that I played. I don't think so. We had the PS2, right? Do you remember any of the games that I played for it?
Not particularly.
Me either.
Alright, just say on to PlayStation 3.
Now on to PlayStation 3. Oh, I loved PlayStation 3.
We still got one 12 years later, it's still kicking.
There was... My favorite game on PS3 was Skyrim. Elder Scrolls.
You played that all the time.
Yes. Kingdom Hearts. Was that 2 or 3? But we played it. But I played it on 3.
You also played it on 4 too.
Yeah.
I think you got that whole collection on PS4.
Do. And then, oh my god, there was the Lego games.
Yeah, you played all kinds of Lego games.
Like Lego's Pirates of the Caribbean, Lego Harry Potter.
I think you loved every Lego game you got until the
new one. That
Ninja or
isn't
something.
really new, but I just
Ninjutsu or something.
Yeah, Ninjutsu
for PS4. She didn't like it. Anyway.
Trying to think of other PS3 games I played.
I can think of another Xbox game you played and a PS3 game you played with me. NASCAR.
Oh god, I would go backwards just to mess with people because
she would try to drive straight at first, but once it messed up, it was turn around.
Oh yeah, and then I basically tried to wreck Jason.
Yep.
I mean, I wrecked anybody.
And then when she got me, we both started going around. I told her I played one of the PS4 NASCAR games, and I started to go backwards, and it penalized me and took me out of the game. It was like she wouldn't want to play this one.
Oh no. And we got to remember we.
Also, don't forget on Xbox we played Blitz, the arcadey football game where we'd play and the girls would play, and everybody would play, and it would the kids could beat us without us even letting them.
Yeah.
It was a game where you never know who could win. And Trivial Pursuit, we played that on there too.
And you don't know Jack. No, that was on a computer.
Yeah. But we'll talk about some computer stuff near the end. I thought we had You Don't Know Jack for one of them. Those games are always fun, though.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I've slept since
I think
then.
we've had it for PS3.
Okay, yeah.
The screw one and everything sounds like it's
Everything
dirty.
sounds like it's dirty, but it's not. I want to play that again. That's
me too. Any more PS3 memories?
not off the top of my head.
I know one thing is you didn't care for the Harry Potter games on Xbox. You got them all, but you really didn't care for them because it was just like playing the movie. And
yeah, it was literally like playing the movie, and I would beat them like this, and there was just like no challenge to it. It was kind of boring. And no reason to play it again because it's just the same thing. Same way with the Hobbit one that I played. Should I do Wii or PS4 next? Well, the Wii would come next. Okay. There's all the Mario Karts that we played. Yeah, and some of those were GameCube games that we played on there. Yeah. Two of them were, and then the other one was a Wii game. But yeah, we played those on there because that was the cool thing about the Wii is it was also a GameCube because we got the controllers for it. Yep. And we downloaded a couple of games for it. Like the classic Nintendo games? Yeah. Yeah. Like we downloaded Zelda for it. The Zelda game that I like but cannot play worth crap is the one with the mask and the Majora's flute. Mask. Yeah. That was a Nintendo 64 game. That was like one of the best Zelda games. It was fun. I just sucked at it. I couldn't get very far, but I did enjoy riding the horse around. Did you like the different party games? Remember when we would rent from Blockbuster through the mail? Oh, yeah, yeah. And we'd get different party games, and there'd be sports games or... Wii Sports Mario was my favorite. Yeah, we killed everybody on that one. What about original Wii Sports? Did you like any of those? Not really. For a while, the Wii was the only way we were getting on the internet. It was our computer. We had to sit there and type with the remote. Yeah. It was shaky, and we had rechargeable batteries otherwise. But is there anything else on the Wii that I played? I played the Paper Mario, but I didn't really like it. And then I guess on to PS4. And the Wii U. Oh, and the Wii U. The Wii U, my favorite game for that one was the Mario Party 8. I thought you would have said Mario Maker. Mario Maker was fun, but no. Yeah, Mario Party 8 was fun because you could be Bowser if you had the controller. And the Mario Kart on that was fun too. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Do you remember Mario's the NES remix? I told the story earlier. Birdo and the bird on the wall. Oh yeah. He screamed like a girl and closed his eyes because the bird flew off the wall at him. Yeah. This interview might come near the front, so check out later towards the end of this. You can see me describe how much of a baby I was when this freaking bird flew unexpectedly. I've never heard a scream like that out of his mouth before. I don't know what it was. It just was so unexpected. I would have thought that the TV was flying at me or something. He dropped the controller and went. I didn't drop it. I threw it up in the air and covered my head and covered my face. I'm lucky it didn't break the thing. Yeah. Oh, that. If you want to talk about the PS4 now, the one we currently have, the highest system we own, because PS5 we probably won't get for another 20 years. Let's see, I have The Witcher. I have
I got you the Harry Potter game.
Yeah, that's what Hogwarts Legacies with the Dark Arts pack. Skyrim, I think I got 2 of those. And since we had PlayStation Plus, I've played like a million games on it.
Yeah.
There's just too many to remember. Like,
well, there's one game you haven't talked about that you're a really big fan of, that you played on multiple things and had multiple versions of it, and I bought you versions of it.
And
gotten
Sims.
them, I was gonna say, and gotten some from some websites we won't mention so the video don't go away.
Yeah, Sims, because I play the hell out of Sims. Like I'll sit here and forget.
I think you played that on almost every system we've had. You played some version of The Sims.
Like, I'll sit here and I'll forget time and be like, because I love building the houses and getting the packs, and ooh, that's what you can get me for Christmas.
Oh boy, this video's turned out good.
I can get a couple of Sims packs.
So you can find some new ways to torture your dead mother? Well, like, when you locked her in a room and set a fire, there was no way out, you just watched it?
Yep.
I should cut that out, but I won't.
Hey, it was therapy.
She's dead, people, before you take this as a death threat.
It was therapy. You put the people you do not like.
I think there were some other people you put in there, but I can't even remember who it was.
But I'm not naming them. But there was some people that just, you know, whenever you have those people you can't stand and you're like, I wish they'd fall off the face of the earth.
Well, make them in The Sims and do that.
Make them to The Sims and kill them. It's cathartic. It really is. Like you're like, oh yeah, what can I do to this
Disclaimer,
person?
video game violence does not equate to real world violence.
Oh yeah,
Stop trying to ban my Grand Theft Auto. Speaking of that.
The purple dildo.
What do you want to say that? I might have to censor that word.
Fine.
You go in the police station and you find
a purple
thing.
A purple female toy.
And you can beat the police with it. Because for some reason it was down in the jail. But anyway, what about computer gaming? Like any games that maybe not exclusive to the computer, but you play a lot on the computer. Like just throughout time. What's the earliest computer game you remember playing? Some old Solitary or something? Minesweeper, don't know how to play it?
Go further back.
What?
4th grade.
MS-DOS, floppy disk, green screen computer.
4th grade, I played the Wagon Trail.
Oh, Oregon Trail?
Yeah.
I've never played that.
It was almost impossible to keep your people alive no matter what you did. Like, I don't think there was a person in the classroom that got very far on that game because your people just died too easily.
See, take that as a lesson, people. You start out as a kid trying to keep people alive, and then as an adult you find torturous ways to kill them on sim games. This is what happens when people go to public schools. Anyway, I know you played games and met people and
Sekfina and Renaissance Kingdom.
Are those like text-based games where you're not like
they're all text-based. You get a character and your goal is to basically it's just a social game. You make friends. I've still got people that I met on there that I'm still friends with today that are on my Facebook. And not that Kayla will probably watch this, but shout out to Kayla. I've known her for 14 years. I met her when we were in VV, and we've been here 12.
No, we've been here 14.
14, so...
We left VV in
16.
2010, so that was 15 years ago.
Okay, well then, So I've known her for 16 or 17 years.
We're old. A year, a decade, it's the same thing. You even won a $1,000 prize on Pogo.com.
Yeah, and I never got it.
Yeah, they ripped her off. Bunch of idiots. Now you sit and play games on your phone all day.
Yep. I play Misplay, and every once in a while I'll get a $10 card here or a $10 card there.
By the way, watch out for a hacker. Some idiot scammed her PayPal for a couple dollars at a time.
Yeah.
Although, what was it in Chile or Chile? Or how do you say that?
It was in Chile.
Like $2 is $2,000 there.
It was like it was a Chilean peso.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Yeah, they literally took $2 here, $2 there.
Sometimes they'd only take like 15 cents, 25 cents.
And that's literally $250 in their country.
And it's like, I had to reset my my PayPal because of it.
And then don't into it, but yeah, you go from playing on a little Atari with like the little knob and the little button to.
Well, I had the joystick one. Well, I didn't have it. The person that I played it on theirs, they had the joystick and the little.
So, what would you say would be your favorite video? If you could pick a favorite video game, if you can't, then, or just a couple of your top favorites. If you can't narrow it down.
The ones that remind me of my dad.
Like Tetris.
Tetris, but especially the first Zelda game.
Could you pick a game that you hate so bad you would never want to play again? Just like something that pops into your head, like that game was so horrible, or a couple of whatever comes to your head.
There probably are. I just can't think of them.
That's fine.
Let's see.
Remember that Evil Dead game for the Dreamcast that we couldn't see anything on? We had to turn the TV on brightness just to find out where to go next, and then we still couldn't figure out what to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to like that game.
I did too, but it just sucked.
Let's see. Anything else you want to talk about?
When we had an old cell phone, like when they were first starting to become like smartphone things, and actually a little bit before that, the Snake game.
Yeah.
That was fun. Spent many hours on that.
Video games, of course, have been a huge part of my life. One confession, though, is for the most part, I suck at games. Like I really do. As much as I enjoy them, like, I fail more than succeed at some of these video games. I've never beaten the original Mario Brothers, or any of the Mario Brothers, actually beaten them. I need to go back on a mission to actually do these things. I did, well, I'll talk about more when I get to them. I don't want to talk about everything before I even get to where it's at in the little format thing I wrote out here. We're real technical on this show. No, but, I just love video games. Although another problem I have is sometimes especially with older games, I don't know if it's due to having motion sickness, but like Sonic, I can't play the original Sonic, the original Genesis Sonic games. They give me just an instant headache. And there's some games that are like that. But, so besides that, I have a lot of fun playing video games. I get all the problems with them at first. And another thing, we'll talk about today's video game. Well, I guess we'll start there. Talk about today's video games compared to when I grew up. Of course, I grew up in the original Nintendo generation. I always call it just old Nintendo, original Nintendo. I know it's called NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, but I mean, obviously the biggest difference there is these days you gotta pay for all these add-ons and all this other stuff that back then you got the full game. They released it, you didn't have to pay to unlock this thing. Now, it would have been, I think it would have been cool if they, go back to the original Nintendo, maybe you pay like a couple dollars, you get a different Mario suit or something. It would have been cool, but, and I don't have a problem with like add-ons like that. It's just, it gets to be so much, and then they end up, having to re-release this, or it seems like they don't get the game right at first, so they have to release this patch. And another thing is you have to be I have to talk first. You have to be connected to the internet for a lot of these things, because almost every time you get a game, you got to download another update for it. It's like, why don't it just come on the disc? Back in those days, even when they had discs, like, when it came out with PlayStation 1 and, Sega Saturn and stuff like that, they had the game on the disc. You didn't have to download something to play it. You didn't have to be connected to the internet to play it, thank God, because I wouldn't have, if that was the case, I wouldn't have been playing video games till the late 2000s. This is the first time I had steady internet. But yeah, it's, and of course there's the different medias, the cartridges, and the CDs. Of course, CDs hold more than cartridges. And then you get into today where you don't even need a physical copy of the game. And that a lot of people go both ways with that. I actually don't mind the digital versions of games as long as I know that they're not going to come and take that away from me. Like later on, there's going to be like, well, this isn't active anymore. Like, I don't know if that actually happens. Let me know if that actually happens for some of the games you guys play. Like, where they can just say, well, this game is not playable anymore. And other than, like, the system being outdated. And that's another thing is, if I had a Nintendo, I could just pop the cartridge in and play it. And I don't have to worry about, this doesn't support this anymore. Like you do with, like, PS4 is what I have. I haven't got anything higher than that. And I know they're going to be ending support for probably PlayStation Plus for that, which sucks because we haven't had that in a few months, just money issues, but it's pretty cool to have PlayStation Plus. You can get some of the older games and the free games they give out. It's pretty cool, but it's just the fact that they're pushing the PS5, so they're trying to discontinue all the PS4 stuff. It really sucks. But yeah, obviously graphic wise, you can't compare today with yesterday, because today wins hands down. But I mean, that doesn't take away from the playability of some of these things. Like I never played any of the original Madden games from the 90s. Like, Madden 95, 98, some of those ones that a lot of people had a lot of fun with. But I have a feeling that I would rather just play a Madden game today. Now, I know Madden games today are all, people say they're garbage, and I'll maintain and talk about later that the best football game ever made was NFL 2K5. But you can't really compare Madden today till then. Everybody's like, it's trash. Well, you got to do a lot more today on today's Madden than you could do back then, okay? Graphic wise, play wise, different modes and everything. So, as much as everybody says it's trash, and I think they say that is just because the game's just been stagnant. No competition because they bought out all the rights for the NFL. So they don't care about, improving things. If they had a rival game to go against back in the NFL 2K days, they would probably be doing a lot better. That's how they got so popular, is because they innovated things. But anyway, that's just a little bit of comparison of today versus yesterday. And when you're talking about yesterday, it's hard to talk about yesterday, because which yesterday you're talking about? You're talking about, you go back to like Nintendo, you go back to original console of 8-bit, and then you get to 16-bit, and, and so on. So anyway, we're going to go through that. First thing I want to talk about, though, I've been talking about all these home consoles, is I actually want to talk a little bit about the arcade games. A lot of people have tons of memories of arcades, especially if you grew up in the 80s. The 90s did have arcades, but because of the especially the Genesis versus Super Nintendo war, a lot of people started getting more of the home consoles and staying home. So it was like, I think 80s were probably like the heyday of the arcades. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But I never got to spend much time in the arcades because growing up the way I did, I didn't get to really do anything. The only time I ever got to play like arcade games is when we go do laundry at the laundromat. And their games that they had there. All that, and when Marky Fo would take us to the bar, Lieb's in Norwood, or Schuster's, playing pinball there. I remember they had the Crypt Keeper pinball machine. Everybody knows I love Tales from the Crypt. Got to play that whenever we were there. They had a trivia game set up, all kinds of different things. As I said, like with the 90s, not only did the home consoles take away people from the arcades, but also like stuff like Chuck E. Cheese. They started getting Dave and Buster's, which I guess counts for arcade, but not the technical arcade that you always think of. You can always like, if you know of that time, you can always hear the sounds in your head, even if you've never really been to one, just from seeing it on TV or stuff. But yeah, the arcade is definitely something I wish I could have done a lot more. I actually went to Dave & Buster's a couple years ago. It was really fun. Our local movie theater, when it's open, put in an arcade, is pretty fun. It's just, a lot of different type games. You got your sports games like, the basketball. You got the cool racing games where you can sit in the actual car, which I thought was like the coolest thing ever. Some of the best video games were actually created for arcades, like ones I'll be talking about soon, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cruis'n USA. Like some of the best games on consoles started in the arcade. And that's really kind of where the heart of video games started, and something that I wish would like come back at a lot of places. But everybody's got PS5s and Xbox One. I think that's I'm so out of it on Xbox. I think they're on Xbox One. Would it go to 360 and then one, or is there another one that I'm missing in there? How do you go from Xbox and then the 360 and then call it Xbox One? Everybody thinks that Xbox One is the first one. Anyway, we're going to move into talking about the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, regular Nintendo, is like I just always call it. My first memory of playing a Nintendo was at my dad's parents' house, Grandpa Wally and Grandma Lois, especially Grandma Lois. She was on she had a Nintendo. You always think of the older generation not playing video games. Well, nowadays, I guess I'm the older generation. I'm not quite as old as my Grandma Lois was when she was playing it, but still, you don't think of like 50, 60-year-olds back then playing game systems, but she did. She was always on the Nintendo, and one game in particular, which I'll get into in a minute. But that was my first experience with that. And then I actually owned my first and only Nintendo when I was about 8 or 9, and was living in Mount Carmel. My brother Josh was doing some. If you see the interview, you see me talking with him about it. He was like 3 or 4, so he really wasn't doing much playing, and I'll kind of get into that later. But yeah, that's when I actually owned a Nintendo and owned a video game console for the very first time. But of course, the flagship of Nintendo is Mario, of course. And that very first, of course, not the first Mario game. Of course, he was in Donkey Kong, and of course the Super Mario Brothers game with him and Luigi, that's completely different than the other ones. But I was talking about like the very first Mario game that came out with Duck Hunt. That was those were always packaged with the Nintendos, and they were on the same cartridge. Almost said disc. Talk about some fun gaming there. I mean, Mario just set the standard of how a video game, a platforming video game should go. With the side scrolling and the different enemies and the power ups, and then you couple that with Duck Hunt, and of course everybody wanted to shoot that freaking dog that laughed at you. Of course, Duck Hunt, you got the little Nintendo orange phaser gun or whatever you want to call it, where you shoot the ducks, and then there's also be the ones where you shoot the little clay discs or whatever they're called. Sorry about frog in my throat today. But my probably one of my favorite games of all time, but definitely my favorite for Nintendo, and I know this is kind of a polarizing opinion, was always Super Mario Brothers 2. And I know it's the a reskin of the Doki Doki Panic Japanese game. Everybody probably knows the story behind that. Japan came out with the second Super Mario Brothers game, and it was like deemed to be like, first it was said to be like way too hard, especially for American audiences, and two, it just looked like it was just the first game just continuing. Didn't look like a totally different game. It was almost like if it was today's version, they would have put out that Super Mario Brothers 2 as just a download where you could, pay extra money and download some more levels. But anyway, Doki Doki Panic was a game that was originally gonna be a Mario game, but then they, because it was created by the same guy who created Mario, but then it was, started to become that game, and then, Japan or Nintendo of America realized that game was way too advanced for American audiences, which I've played it. It is, at least for me anyway. So they decided to take the Doki Doki Panic and put Mario characters in it, and it created a whole new different style of gameplay, and it's actually my favorite, and it's the one I remember my grandma Lois playing all the time. I would sit and watch her for hours, and then I would sneak up in like the middle, like 6 a.m. Not like doing it so, I wasn't allowed to touch it. It was just whenever she was up and playing it, nobody could touch it. She didn't, she came out and caught me one time, and she was like, "You got to jump this way." No, but it's cool. The different characters, they all have something different in it, and that was, and of course you get 4 characters as opposed to the original one where you could have Mario or Luigi. But yeah, just such a fun game, and of course Birdo and some of the Shy Guy and some of the other characters would actually become. At the end of the game, they say they're like, "This is just a dream," but the characters end up becoming part of the Mario universe. And of course, there's Mario Brothers 3. A lot of people consider that the best Nintendo original Nintendo Mario game. With the raccoon suit and introducing a map for the first time. And I love that game too. It's just something about Mario Brothers 2 really captured me, and just love that game. But one that there always seems to be people that go two ways about this game. Friday the 13th. Everybody my age remembers that game. I couldn't ever figure out how to beat this game or even what I was doing. You'd be walking around the camp, and you end up in the freaking woods, or you end up in the thing, and then Jason's mom would be there, and then Jason would be behind you in that freaking that purple suit with the green mask. And even when you beat it, you freaking don't beat it. But just everybody seems to either love that game or hate it. I love it. I don't even care. I didn't know what I was doing. Years later, I think I could figure it out now. But back then, I didn't know what I was doing. You got to battle Jason. Sometimes you win. Most of the time, you lose. The scary music kick in and you get behind you, got to jump. But of course, growing up a huge Friday the 13th fan, of course I'm going to love that. If I didn't care about the movie, I probably wouldn't have cared about the game at all. Be honest. It's not the best thing ever. But I actually prefer that to the one they released a few years ago. I suck at that game. I guess that's why. But of course, being a huge wrestling fan, there was definitely a lot of wrestling games. I didn't like. I'm gonna be honest. Probably like, whoa, that's a sacrilege. I didn't like the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo wrestling games, or the Sega Genesis. Outside of one, which I'll talk about later, WrestleMania, the arcade game. I'll tell you now. But I didn't like the older games. There just wasn't as even then, like not even just comparing it to now, you couldn't do much. It was a lot of button mashing. Couldn't figure out how to do moves, or everything was so limited. It's hard to move around the ring. Nothing felt natural. I know today's wrestling games get a lot of crap because of just being repeats, and I completely get that. But it's just, it was hard to control the game, and not a lot of options, and of course, being that generation, the 8-bit graphics, they were just, even with the 16-bit graphics, it's just, I tried a lot of them, especially the Super Nintendo wrestling games when I got one later on. Just was never a fan of them, really. Of course, there's Tetris now. Everybody can play that game. I mean, you can play it on your phone now. Tetris is just one of those staples. I always call it one of them I always call it a time waster, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Just like a, just a. And a lot of people take it seriously, though. There's a lot of people that know exactly what to do, and they build up all these high scores. I normally, after a couple levels, I call it suck out of it. I suck and I lose. But it's like I said, it's a fun time waster. It's not like I said, there's some people that take it seriously and can go on these huge runs. But for me, it's just a game that, if it's there, I'll pick it up and play it. But usually I end up getting frustrated and the pile goes up to the top of the screen really quick. But we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, that game is classic. And of course, the second one is the arcade game, which of course was ported over from the Turtles arcade game, for a 2 or 3 years was the top grossing game in the arcades. But the first Turtles game for Nintendo was just iconic, and everybody knows the underwater level and how freaking hard that thing was. But just great arcade fighting style game. Turtles were just... it's hard to explain to people today how big the Turtles were then. If you're just going off of what you see in this generation with the crappy Nickelodeon cartoon they came out with, and even the last couple movies weren't the best. During this time, the late 80s cartoon and the early 90s movies, and the concert, of course, coming out of our Shells tour. Can't forget that one, my favorite of all time. But yeah, those games were great. And of course, there's Dr. Mario as well. It was like teaching kids to play with pills. Not really. Really, but not really. No, it was sort of like a Tetris-y type game where but instead of just matching the shapes, you gotta match colors too. Just some great fun on the Nintendo. Like I said, I had it as a kid. Didn't have it very long. I think it broke or something. Never owned one since, but of course I played some of the games on the digital versions, like on the Wii and the Wii U, and of course emulators. I can play these games anytime I want now. It's pretty cool. But talk about handheld games. Of course, Nintendo's always known for the Game Boy. My brother Josh owned a Game Boy, and the only game I ever remember playing on it was WWF King of the Ring. Now, if you thought I didn't like the regular Nintendo and the Super Nintendo wrestling games, this one on a little screen with no backlighting, because that was the problem with the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, was just the lighting on it. You couldn't hardly see, even if you get like a backlight thing to connect to it. It wasn't until Game Boy Advance SP when they actually included like a backlight in the actual machine did the games really become easy to play. And like I said, I played WWF King of the Ring, and I did okay at it just because it was the only, at the time, it was the only video game I could play. We were living at my granny's. It was like way past like when Game Boy was still big. It was this is Nintendo 64 time, so nobody was really playing Game Boy then. I mean, I guess they probably were. More like Game Boy Color, which we played King of the Ring on the Game Boy Color, but since it was a black and white game, it was black and white on there too. So, but a lot of people had a lot of fun with the Game Boy systems. I owned a Game Boy Advance SP. I remember the purple, and it was actually fun to play. I had NFL Blitz for that game, and I remember it was sounds stupid now. But it was like the first game that had the Houston Texans. So it was like up to date, because all the other games that we'd had were the older ones. You had the Oilers on them, which I missed the Houston Oilers, which would become the Tennessee Titans. But then, of course, Houston got another team, the Texans. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like, I got a current roster. But there is one huge memory of Game Boy Advance games, or the whole Game Boy experience. And that was going to Media Play in Norwood, which was a store which don't exist anymore. But they sold all sorts of media, like I says, CDs, tapes, DVDs, video games. But they had as a lot of places did, they had a display set up of, I think it was a Game Boy Advance. If not, it was a Game Boy Color. But it had the no, it was the Advance, because it was Super Mario Advance, and it's a game has a game on it that I'll be talking about here in just a minute when I talk about the Super Nintendo. But the Super Mario Brothers All-Star Collection. I'll talk about that in a minute, like I said, but we would go there every day. It was like a mile and a half, but we would walk there every day during the summer when school was out. And a little side note, we would, if you try to get a free water at the White Castle in Norwood, Ohio, and they don't let you have it and you have to pay for it, it's completely my fault, and I'm sorry you money. Don't sue me, though. I don't have the money. No, we would go in there every day for a free water because it'd be hot. And, of course, I got the bright idea of, hey, we'll just wait till they're not looking and go over to the fountain drink machine and get some pop. And, of course, it worked a few times until we got caught. Then there was no more free water. So, if they're still not giving out free water, completely my fault. But anyway, we would walk to Media Play. And we would just stand there at this Game Boy kiosk and play this thing all day long. And luckily the people at the store didn't like run us off. Even though clearly we weren't there to buy anything. But we also weren't there like making any trouble or trying to steal anything. We just wanted to play this freaking game because we didn't have it at home. And like I said, I'll talk about that game in just a second here, because I want to talk now about the Super Nintendo, which I never had as a kid. My experience playing it as a kid was when I go to my granny's house, which is my mom's mom. There was a Super Nintendo over there from my cousin's. Kathleen was her name. It was from my uncle. Or it was. She was my Uncle Dale's daughter, and I think they lived in like North Carolina or something. But they came to visit, but they left their Super Nintendo. I don't know if it's because they had another one and they just wanted to leave it there to play. But of course, when I got to go over there, I got to play it. And it was when I first discovered, and before I get to that, like I said, I did own one later on. I already said that. Anyway, my brain's all over the place. But Super Mario Brothers All-Star Collection. This was like the first like loaded game I ever seen, and is like amazing to me. Not only do you have a Super Mario World, which is the new Mario game for Nintendo, which of course expands on the Super Mario 3 with the map, but has so much more, and of course the 16-bit graphics. But not only do you have that, I mean that alone was a flagship game, but then add the Super Mario All-Star Collection, where you get to play the first Mario, the second Mario, which of course I said my favorite, the third, plus the Lost Levels, which is actually Super Mario Brothers 2, that one I was talking about originally, the one that was released in Japan as Super Mario Brothers 2. All those games on there, and like I said, it's called the Lost Levels. It was only lost because they didn't want to release it here. But I mean, all that on one thing. Not only that, but you could do stuff you couldn't do on the of course they upscaled the graphics, but you could actually save during certain parts of the game, instead of like before, where if you didn't beat the first every part of each level, which is like, I think it was like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, the 4 levels. Of course, the fourth one being like, I'm talking about the original one now, being like the castle level. If you didn't get past them before you lost your lives, you had to start over and everything. Now you got the ability to save, especially if you get a bunch of extra lives. That really came in handy. But I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then, like I said, later on, I would I would buy one when I was probably like 20, and then I ended up selling it to buy tickets to the very first Monday Night Raw I took my brother to, Josh. But yeah, I bought it, and like I said, I've got a lot of those wrestling games that I'd never gotten to play when Super Nintendo was out. And of course, but I should say, by the time I bought this, Nintendo 64 had been out for years, and we had it already. So, it was like a nostalgic thing then, even though it only been a few years since it'd been out. But yeah, like I said, I tried those wrestling games, didn't really care for them. The original Mario Kart, of course, not as fun as Mario Kart 64, my favorite game. One of my favorite games of all time. But still, it really laid the groundwork for those Mario Kart games, which have become iconic. And of course, one of the most widely considered best game for Nintendo, Aladdin. I remember playing that a lot. And there's one wrestling game, like I said, that I did enjoy from that generation. And it actually kind of spanned generations because it was on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, but they also released it for PlayStation 1 too. Was WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. And a lot of people don't like this game because it's more like a Mortal Kombat type fighting game. But I thought it was cool, all the different power-ups. Undertaker could throw tombstones. To me, it was a really fun wrestling game. It was different than it was button mashing, but it wasn't like, you get that power meter that goes across. You don't have to deal with that crap, or only a few moves. You could do all these things and all these combos. Like I said, it was basically wrestling meets Mortal Kombat, and I loved that game. Never got to play the In Your House game, which came out later and was kind of the same thing, except like it went even more crazy. Have like themed rooms for each wrestler and everything. Never got to play that. I would love to play that someday. But like I said, the Super Nintendo I never had as a kid. I didn't have the Sega Genesis either. I'll get into that in a second. But it sucked not having those as a kid when you're seeing everybody going crazy about them and all the commercials and the whole Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo war, and didn't even get to choose a side in it. But before we talk about that, I do want to talk about some those games that are notorious from the 90s. Everybody knows them as like the Tiger handheld games, but that wasn't the only brand. But just seemed like any movie, any TV show, anything that was popular had a tie-in where you had those little handheld games you'd buy at the store. Didn't have any cartridges. It's just you bought that game. That's the LCD or whatever you call that screen. With the black and white, little graphics that looked like it make like 5 cents to make. But there's of course Aladdin, like I just talked about that. Like I said, anything you can come up with is watched by more than 5 people. They seem to have a handheld game, usually produced by Tiger. I actually like playing like the Blackjack 21 and the 5-card stud poker games. I actually, like I said, enjoyed those. They're another time waster, but I remember I had the Blackjack 21 game, and I was like so obsessed with it at the time. I was taking it to the school in like middle school and like playing it whenever I got a chance to try to beat my high score. Sometimes I get on games like that where I just like right now I'm playing Yahtzee with buddies on my phone and Sorry World, and I'm constantly playing on those. In fact, I probably got like 5 or 6 games waiting for my turn to go in Yahtzee. But yeah, just those handheld games. Fun little time wasters. Obviously, you're not getting a console there, but you're getting a short little video game experience you could take with you on the go. That wasn't a Game Boy. Another thing with Game Boys I forgot to mention is just how quick the batteries go out in those freaking things. They didn't have rechargeable batteries in those days, so with those and with Walkman and personal CD players. The battery companies were making a fortune in the 90s. That's why there were so many Duracell and Energizer commercials. But next I want to talk about the Sega Genesis. There was the Sega Genesis, again, was one I didn't have as a kid. I ended up getting it for Christmas, I want to say 99 or 2000. 99, I think. Yeah, I got the Sega Genesis 3 because it was like the third model, so it was like really slimmed down. Which, by the way, I do want to mention, with I've noticed with PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and with PlayStation 4, the re-releases of those games always lasted me longer, especially PS3 and PS4. Because I remember I had 2 PlayStation 4s and they just like broke on me. I know I'm getting out of order here. But the re-release version of the PS4, the one that wasn't as shiny, was lasted me years. Like, and the PS3, of course, the original one I know had the backwards compatibility. I never owned the original PS3, but I own the slimmed down version. It's been, I don't know how many years I've had that thing, 12, and it's still kicking. But anyway, Sega Genesis 3, like I said, I got, of course, after Genesis was, this was like after Dreamcast was out. I didn't get Dreamcast till the following year after it came out. But, my parents couldn't afford the Dreamcast, so I got the Sega Genesis because, of course, they were all on sale and everything. And I bought a lot of games for them. I was moved to Vevey, Indiana. There's the dumb siren. Yeah, a lot of those games I got in Vevey at this little video store there that was like, selling them off because, it wasn't the current generation. But, of course, like I said, got to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. Like I said earlier, it gives me a headache, but it was still, obviously innovative and the flagship of Sega forever. There's one game on it, though, that's one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. Definitely my favorite Sega Genesis game of all time. And that is Sonic Spinball. Of course, like I said, playing pinball earlier, I love pinball. But, Sonic, and it's a game I've never beaten. I've never gotten past the second level, and I know there's not many levels to it. But I actually bought this game from Amazon way back in the day, and I have it on my computer still, and of course emulator and stuff. It's just I always get stuck and get frustrated and give up on it. I need to beat that game because I love Sonic Spinball. Just a perfect mix, of course, having Sonic, and it really is just a pinball game with like bonus levels and stuff. But it was such a fun game that I played for the first time on Sega Genesis. Another one that probably a lot of people don't know is called Tin Head. Like a Mario type side-scrolling platformer, but it's just it was just a game I found at the video store. Never heard of it. It was like super cheap, so I bought it, and it just had so much fun with that game. If you have any emulators or just happen to be able to get it, I don't know what these games cost if you find them online. Probably a ton of money. But yeah, check out Tin Head. It is really a fun game. A different. It's just robotic enemies and monsters and everything. Really fun. There was a baseball game that I got that I had a ton of fun with. World Series Baseball 1994 was what it was. And I remember one of my playing the seasons on it was fun. It was the first time I'd had, the Sega Genesis was really the first time I had a video game system to myself that, wasn't playing with my brothers. Because, when you play with your brothers and everything, it's hard to, go through, season mode on, baseball games and stuff, because they're always wanting to play, too. And, especially when there was 4 of us wanting to play the Nintendo 64, it's like, you don't got hours and hours to devote to it. But when I was, moved to Vevey with my dad, I was the only kid there. I was the only one with this Sega Genesis system. So, I had all the time in the world to play the baseball season. So I, go through a whole season. It was pretty cool. But one of the coolest things on it I found out was the Home Run Derby. And it isn't like today's Home Run Derby, you see on TV where you have 8 people battling it out, round after round until you get the winner. This was based on the original Home Run Derby, which was like a TV show which I'd seen later on. I didn't even know it was when I played this game what it was. From the 60s, I think, 50s or 60s, where they would have a baseball star against another one, and they would do a 9-inning game. You get 3 outs each inning. If you didn't get a home run, anything a home run counts as your total. Anything that's not a home run is an out. But anyway, that's the way that the mode it was on this video game. I never seen anything like it. I thought they made it up for the game, but obviously they didn't. But something I wish they'd bring back today. That version of Home Run Derby. I mean, they can keep the one they have now too, but just I don't know. I get like excited over these weird like quirky parts of video games that people like. Ooh, Home Run Derby, last 9 innings. Who cares? Well, it was fun to me. But of course, can't talk about Sega Genesis without talking about Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. And of course, everybody knows the differences between the very first Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo and the very first Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis, where the Sega Genesis had blood and all the cool fatalities. Super Nintendo didn't. And that game definitely suffered sales, so they ended up putting out, for the second one, they ended up releasing the full game. I can't remember if they did a regular game without the blood and then one with it, or if they just did the one with the blood but put a bunch of warnings on it. But yeah, of course I like Mortal Kombat more. That's one of them ones where everybody's like, you gotta pick a side. I don't really pick a side on it. They both have their pluses, but of course Mortal Kombat is the more popular one and has all those cool fatalities. I was always Sub-Zero, of course, in Mortal Kombat. Just love that. And then I ended up getting a Sega Saturn probably around the early 2000s, way after it had been out of use. Ended up getting it from somebody that was just like, I think it was like somebody in the neighborhood. I was with my grandpa Wally at the time in Price Hill. And I think one of the neighbors had a yard sale or something, and like the Sega Saturn didn't sell, so they just gave it to me. But there was the only game was like Knights. I can't remember what that Knights game is, but I couldn't get into it. I know I think it's probably one of the more popular ones, but I just couldn't get into it. Really, what I ended up using it for was a CD player, because it had a really good actual CD player on it on the Sega Saturn, with the ability to hit random or shuffle, whatever you want to call it these days. I always loved when I'm listening to music. Back then it wasn't always guaranteed that the CD player would have a shuffle or a random mode. But I always loved that because you didn't have, you could just jump around in the. But anyway, I had a Sega Saturn. It basically was just a fancy CD player to me. I never got to experience any of the Sega Saturn games. Maybe someday. But of course, one video game system that I would say I've probably had the most experience with is the Nintendo 64. It's everything. Of course, 64-bit graphics. It's where the 64 comes from. But me and my brothers, I don't know how we didn't, the freaking thing didn't give out. We played it so much. But there were so many iconic games to everybody, but also iconic to just us. One of the first games we owned for it was Mario Party 2. That to me is my favorite Mario Party of all time. Just all the experience with it. And of course, it just brought the best out of video games. You get a board game. You get to do little mini games. There's strategy. You got to go this way, go that way. Do you buy the skeleton key? You're gonna buy this item. Then you got to remember. There was always the option to play with the bonus stars on or off. Whoever played that with the bonus stars off? That's boring. But anyway, it was a board game, so some of it was up to the dice roll, but there was still a lot of strategy with it. And I played a lot of Mario Party games since, and I had a lot of fun with a lot of Mario Party games. But for me, 2 will always be the best. And same with Mario Kart 64. I played, of course, Mario Party or Mario Kart for Nintendo Wii. I think it was Mario Kart 8. I think that's what it was. And that game was super fun, and of course blows Mario Kart 64 out of the water. But man, there's just something about Mario Kart 64. Play against my brothers or against the computer. I always remember playing the ghost mode, trying to beat my record. But just some of those tracks on there, just the tracks and the songs for the tracks just burned into your brain. But of course, being a wrestling fan, you can't help but mention some of the greatest wrestling games ever made were made for Nintendo 64, hands down. Of course, Start with the elephant in the room, the one that everybody considers the greatest game of all time. I don't know if it is. Like, I enjoy it, but I think there's other games that I might like better than it. But, of course, WWF No Mercy. Everybody raves about the game, like the story mode, or season mode, whatever it is. I always found it frustrating because like I said, I suck at some of the video games. Especially if it was like, there was a lot of tag team matches or handicap matches. I had a hard time winning them tag team matches because their team would always come in. No matter what I do to try to stop them, the partner would always come in and break up the pins. But anyway, it still is a really great game. All kinds of unlockables. Of course, everybody, when you realize you could do it, would go in and take the mask off Kane to see what he looks like. And it was just like a burnt face. Like we thought they were going to put like Kane's actual face on there or something. I don't know why we thought it as a kid. It was like $500,000. One of the most expensive characters in there was the Godfather's Ho. His character is called Ho. But yeah, everybody you got to buy that money and spend it at the SmackDown Mall. And for the first releases of the game, which was a lot of them, I say first release like they came out with the first one, and then the second one they came out with a ton more. No, the first one, there was a glitch in it, and did this make us mad? Where I found out later on that if you didn't create any characters on it, that the glitch would barely happen. But the more characters you had, the more susceptible it was to it. And of course, we filled up the create a wrestler all the spots with our different creations we came up with. Reminds me, my stepdad Steve, he loved RVD, so he made it RVD on the game. But we always said that the RVD he made looked just like Steve's sister, who we would see like once a year come with Christmas. And those popcorn tins? This had nothing to do with the video games, but she would fill it up with cookies and brownies. Oh my God, it was the greatest thing ever. But anyway, his RVD looked like his sister. But anyway, like I said, that glitch would, did I even say what the glitch was? Anyway, it would wipe all your data out. There was just some glitch with it. Like I said, they would release another game later on. They didn't refund nobody, but they would just release like a second version of it where it didn't happen. And then, of course, we realized we were lucky enough to have a memory card. So we realized that we need to back up the game to the memory card because that was the only way to transfer it back whenever everything eventually crashed, which it did, every month or so it seemed, sometimes every couple weeks. But a game that I like just as much as that, and maybe even more in different parts, is WWF WrestleMania 2000, which came out before that. I like the ability to make titles on there and create your own pay-per-views. It had the really cool Ministry of Darkness Undertaker, whereas the No Mercy had the American Badass Undertaker, I think. Yeah, but I don't think he came out on a motorcycle, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, like I said, I like that one just as much as I like No Mercy. And of course, WCW NWO Revenge, one of the greatest games of all time. We played the crap out of that one. And it wasn't even like a ton of like modes other than going for championships and stuff, but it was still fun, They had the NWO roster, the WCW roster, the Four Horsemen, the Japanese wrestlers that created Aki, the company, AKI Aki, however you say it. They had the created wrestlers on there. You could change names of people. It was just so much fun. And of course, before that, a game I don't have as fond memories as I do Revenge and No Mercy and WrestleMania is WCW NWO World Tour, which is kind of like laid the foundation for Revenge. And then, of course, there's the WWF Acclaim games that came out before the THQ games of the WrestleMania and No Mercy. Those were the WWF Warzone and then WWF Attitude. The engines on those sucked. You had to memorize button combinations or pause the game, go look at the actual move list and do it. So the creative characters were really fun on those, especially Attitude. And they would have like wrestlers saying different stuff. So it was a cool presentation. And was really fun to make like the most bizarre creator wrestlers you could think of. but the video game engine for it and the graphics were okay, but just the controls, it just having to memorize these things, and half the time I couldn't even get the moves right, even when it showed me exactly what to do. That well either. So it was good when WWF moved on from Acclaim. They moved on to THQ, took it from WCW basically, and then after that WCW went to EA games like Backstage Assault and Mayhem, and those games sucked. WCW was going away anyway, so I don't feel too bad that WWF took THQ from them. But if they hadn't, we wouldn't have got those great games, and we'd been stuck on Acclaim's same game. Like Attitude was basically Warzone, barely upgraded. And then I'll talk later about Sega Dreamcast when I played the ECW Hardcore Revolution, which I love, but it's basically WWF Attitude with ECW stuff in it. But racing game I played on there that I really loved was NASCAR 2000. It was really the first actual NASCAR game I got to play, and loved it. It felt like they were putting actual physics into it. Like, you couldn't just drive around the thing, and it felt like you were actually playing a game and having to learn to drive the actual rules. All-Star Baseball 2000, that was another fun one. That was like when I got the chance to do the season mode on that. Like I said, it's hard with brothers, everybody wanting to play, and of course if we couldn't agree on who got to play, or someone was taking too long, or parents would just take the stuff from us until we could figure it out. So that didn't actually happen a lot, because we figured out, like, we don't want this taken away. They might keep it for days. But that had was just a fun game. Play alone or to play against one of my brothers. One game that I played actually when I was in Vivi with my friend Maggie, who's actually my sister's sister. We're not related because I'm related to my sisters by my dad. We have the same dad, but their sister Maggie had their mom, and a different dad. So, like I said, I consider her my friend. But we played Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. That was a fun game. That was I think that was my very first experience playing a baseball game. Outside of the one I was talking about earlier with Sega Genesis, the World Series Baseball 94. But yeah, that one was a fun one. And I ended up getting that for when we were in Norwood with my brothers, but they hardly didn't play it. One we definitely played a ton was Bio Freaks. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that game, but it's a fighting game, sort of like a Mortal Kombat style, but it's all these, like, the name says it, Bio Freaks, these like freaky monster creation thingies. They all had different weapons. You could like jump up into the air, and they're different environments. You could have different ledges and stuff, and you could hide and like shoot people and then hide. It was kind of cool. We played it all the time. We beat the game easily. Not easily, but I mean just I don't beat many games often, so when I do, it's like a big thing. But yeah, we played the crap out of Bio Freaks. Cruisin' USA, I mentioned earlier, it started in the arcade. Had a lot of fun playing Cruisin' USA. That was one I beat on my own. Unlocking the tracks. Like I said, NASCAR 2000 had more realistic controls, like how a car would work. Cruisin' USA was just go. Try to avoid hitting people, because usually your car would get not messed up, but just like knocked off the road and come back. Not like trying to do anything groundbreaking there. It's just like it just played just like the arcade game, and it was fun. I played Cruisin' World, I think, too, on the emulator, but Cruisin' USA to me is always top. Not a huge basketball fan, but I don't even remember. It's just some of these games like Bio Freaks, all this other stuff we got just because our parents would get it for us. They'd see it cheap somewhere and pick it up, and that's how I discovered a lot of games, is just finding it cheap somewhere, not knowing anything. Like I said before with Tin Head, but Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside, man, we played the crap out of that game. and the controls it was so much fun, like playing against each other or, just playing through on a season mode. We had so much fun with that, and none of us cared about basketball, but we played that game like we were just the biggest NBA fans. What was that game called? Was it Ready to Rumble? Or I can't remember if it was Ready to Rumble or if it was a boxing game. I can't remember the exact title. I even forgot to put it down on my list. I'm just thinking of it now. But I remember we played it, and it was fun. But one of the funniest things ever is we sucked at it. But the one boxer we could always beat, and everybody always beat, and was like the lowest of the lows was, what's his name? Money Mayweather. It was Floyd wasn't even Money Mayweather then, it was Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather Jr. And he became like a joke to us because like he was such a pitiful fighter on this game that we were like outside and like there'd be like people get into fights like, oh look, it's Mayweather, he can't do nothing. Like that would be an insult. And then later on he ends up becoming like one of the biggest boxers of all time and is like involved in wrestling and like getting all kinds of money and winning all kinds of, but like in this game he was like we never would have guessed that he would have been that big of a star in boxing. He was so crappy in the game. I don't know if like they didn't like him or he just started out so he was like the lower tier on that game, but it seemed like somebody on, I think it was an EA game, had it out for him. Still to this day I'll think like see somebody like a weak fighter like, oh look, it's Mayweather. Nowadays I guess that's a tribute, not an insult. But NFL Blitz 2000, first experience playing NFL Blitz, and man, that game is fun. I can't say enough about NFL Blitz. Of course, you get to do basically powerbomb people, do stuff after the whistle. But just the arcade of it, you got to go 30 yards to get a first down. But it doesn't seem like Madden or anything, where that seems hard. It's easier to go 30 yards on Blitz than it is to go 10 yards on Madden. But man, we played each other's, and that was one of them games. Like I played against my brother Clint, who was how old was Clint at this time? He was couldn't be more than 8 at the latest when we were playing this, and he could beat me at this. I played what was it, Blitz 2003 maybe, or 2005? I can't remember. It was for Xbox. Was the game I'm thinking of, whatever Blitz was on Xbox. But I remember playing against my kids, and they would beat me at it sometimes, and it wasn't even like one of the ones where I was letting them win. It's just, I don't know if I sucked that bad or what, but, it made it fun because they could actually win, and they could tell I wasn't just letting them win. Just, like I said, super arcadey, but super fun. I never got to play the MLB Slugfest, the baseball version of that, but that had to have been fun. Quake 64. That is a type of game that I'm not normally playing, a first-person shooter type thing, but that game was so much fun. It had monsters and all these different weapons, and you got to go around. It's hard to control because you're like a first-person shooter. You're walking around, but even on the blocky Nintendo 64 graphics, that game was so much fun. Me and my brothers, we would just like, it'd be the old when you die it's my turn rule. We would just be going through the season mode or whatever career, whatever you call the single player campaign, whatever. And of course we would play against each other in the ones where they have this split screen. And then I think the last game we'll talk about for Nintendo 64 is Road Rash 64. The game was so much fun. Going around on the motorcycles with different weapons and just kicking people off. We had some wars on that game, I'm telling you, me and the brothers. Whether we were just going through a tour, which I think is what they called their season mode, or we were just going against each other. We had some wars on Road Rash. We would get like right to the end, and one of us would kick the other off the motorcycle and get mad and throw the controller. But so much fun playing that game. Alright guys, now I want to talk about PlayStation 1. Of course, back then it was just called PlayStation. But actually we own this. It came, of course, this is like the same generation of Nintendo 64. I can't remember which one was out first. But yeah, it was the same generation. PlayStation decided to go with discs, and Nintendo decided to go with cartridge, and both have their pluses and minuses. And I think in the end they both decided the right thing, because we got two different experiences with it. My experience with PlayStation 1 is nowhere near as expansive as with PlayStation, or as with PlayStation 2, but also Nintendo 64. Even though we got PlayStation first, I remember it was Christmas time, and my granny was buying Christmas presents, and she decided to get our cousins Nintendo 64 and to get us PlayStation 1. And it was, just, I think it was just, she just chose it at random, I don't know. But I'll tell this story, and I'll ask my brother about it, so you'll probably see it somewhere in here. But for some reason, we thought it had to sit on top of the TV, okay? It couldn't sit on the floor. And we sat not super up close to the TV, and of course, the TV was up on a stand, so it wasn't like it was like close to the floor, so there's only so much room on the cord. You can see where I'm going with this. We would always end up yanking, because, sometimes when you play the game, there's no reason for it, but especially back then, you would just jerk the controller, like if you're really into it. We would knock that thing off there so much that we ended up breaking it. But, like I said, that's why we didn't have it that long. We learned Nintendo 64, put that thing under the TV. We didn't have any problems with that. But one of the games I remember playing for it was a game called Spider. And it was like, the story was like you got turned into a spider or something. But it was like a spider had a gun and a knife, and it was a really cool game. Me and Josh played the crap out of that all the time. There was one we only had the demo for, but it was a commercial that was like on all the time. It was Parappa the Rapper. We couldn't even figure out how to play the demo. So you got to make these weird raps or something, or go. I can't even remember exactly what you had to do, but it was just like one of the weirdest games ever. And then a game I never actually got to, like I said, didn't have much experience on the, other than playing the demo discs and stuff. But a game I got to play later on with my friend when I moved to Vivi was WWF SmackDown. Of course, that kind of changed the wrestling game landscape. Really fun game. The graphics were pretty cool. And of course, being PlayStation, you could have the actual theme music and talking and stuff on it. And of course, the second one came out and was also really fun. And then of course, the third one was Just Bring It. Before SmackDown would move to PlayStation 2. But like I said, I don't have a ton of memories like a lot of people have. Like, you see all the memories I have with Nintendo 64. It's just the PlayStation broke on us early, and we never did get another one. Of course, we play. You can play PlayStation 1 games on PlayStation 2, which we did for a couple of those. The SmackDown 2 and 3. Just Bring It was the one we played the most. But like I said, we ended up. I don't know why we thought that PlayStation had to be on top of the TV. No clue, but we ruined it. But now I want to talk about one of my all-time favorite systems, Sega Dreamcast. Like I said, I got this the year after it came out, and I've actually owned 3 Sega Dreamcasts. The first one just kind of wore out, and most likely due to when I originally first got the first one, didn't have a VMU, which was really, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a visual memory unit. Not only was it a memory card, but it was like its own little handheld thing. Like if you had the Sonic, like I'll talk about Sonic Adventure in a minute, but the Chow Garden, where you can almost grow like a little animal. It's sort of like Tamagotchi type thing, but different. But there was also like little mini games and stuff. Or if you're playing football, you could actually choose, on some games you could actually choose your play on the little memory thing. So that way your opponent, if you're playing against somebody on the Dreamcast, your opponent couldn't see the play you chose. Really cool thing, but didn't have that at first. So the only way we could progress through games is that just leave it on. So that's probably, the motor probably ran out in that one. The second one was just the weirdest thing. I was playing ECW Hardcore Revolution, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I made a created wrestler, and I made him all blue. And as soon as I got the meter to the top where it turned blue, it froze on that and would not move no matter what. I couldn't even get it to turn off, so I had to unplug it. And when I went to plug it back in, it never turned on again. Like, I wouldn't, unless you got a Dreamcast that's like going out on you to try this. If you have that game, I wouldn't. The funny thing is, though, is because I guess that they'd gotten me a couple Dreamcast games the next Christmas, the Christmas after that. But anyway, Steve got, paid to get me another Dreamcast, and I think this was actually after Dreamcast had actually stopped producing games. It didn't have very long shelf life because, they were kind of beaten out by PlayStation and Nintendo, and just went on to become just a game development company. Sega did, which sucked. But anyway, I had to go on a bus to get one because Steve paid for another one because, like I said, they'd already gotten me games. Like, well, I already got him these games for Christmas, might as well. But anyway, what do you think the first thing I did was? Went back into the game, turned the character blue again. If that would have done it, I can't imagine how mad my parents would have been at me. Mom and Steve, they would have, I don't even know what they would have done. I didn't get beat or nothing by them. But I'm just saying, like, can you imagine that if that would have froze again like that? But anyway, the very first games I had for Sega Genesis or Sega Dreamcast were NFL 2K, which came with it, Sonic Adventure, and just a demo disc. I remember it was green and it said Generator on it. But NFL 2K was just so innovative to me. It was like the graphics were amazing. The gameplay super fun, easy to get into. Love those 2K games, especially starting with the first one there. I believe, if I'm correct, I think it was Randy Moss on the cover. I think. But of course, getting to play as the Bengals in their new stadium, Paycor now. It was Paul Brown Stadium then. I think it was maybe the first game that had the new Bengals Stadium, because before that they were playing in Synergy Field, Riverfront Stadium. I don't know if there was Synergy Field when the Bengals were still there, or if that was just the Reds, but definitely Riverfront Stadium. But anyway, such a fun game, and of course, play through the season on that. Gotta leave the Dreamcast on. The Generator, the demo disc, had the first level of Sonic, even though I had Sonic, which was that Sonic Adventure, which is that iconic first level with Sonic on the beach, and then you got to turn around and you're running away from this whale that's after you and is destroying everything. And it had Tony Hawk Pro Skater on it. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. I think it was 1, the very first level. Can't remember the other demos, but there was a lot of them that I just played over and over again, But like I said, Sonic Adventure, probably my favorite game of all time. Definitely my favorite Sonic game of all time. Just something about that game, getting to choose the different characters and go through their stories, getting to like walk around and explore things, and just the different levels and how rapid the pace went. But it was like 3D, so it wasn't just side to side. And for some reason that gate didn't give me a headache. But man, I've beaten that game 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4, all the way through. Just I love that freaking Sonic Adventure game. I can't even explain it. And then Sonic Adventure 2 I get later on. I think I've only beat that one once. We got stuck for like years, and I finally went back to it. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 was fun in its own right, and it introduced Shadow. It's perfect sequel to the first one, where it has the same types of controls and everything. You don't have to learn a new system, but there's new characters, so you got to learn a few things. The one annoyance I have with the Sonic Adventure games is the Knuckles levels, just because I get so frustrated not being able to find the freaking emeralds that he's got to dig for, or just find them sometimes if he's sitting there, but usually you have to dig for them. But there's a little thing, whether you're hot or cold, if you closer you get to it, the more it starts beeping and the color starts changing. But I would have the hardest time finding these things sometimes. Sometimes I would spend hours on a level trying to find this freaking thing. But, of course, one of my favorite levels from the Sonic Adventure game was the level where you get to go play pinball. Of course, that ties in with the Sonic Spinball. But just, like, I love those games. Beat them both, which is rare for me to say. I know a lot of people, like, they've beaten a ton of games, you know. I can count probably on one hand the amount of games, you know, where you have an actual, it's not sports or anything, you know, an actual, like, story game where I've beaten. But speaking of sports, one of the funnest games on there was MLB World Series Baseball 2K1. Of course, like I said, when I had the Dreamcast, at first I was living with my dad and then my grandpa. But, you know, I had a ton of time to play this, and you go through the season, and you have year after year, and really getting to see, like, the cool thing about season, you know, players retiring, new players coming in, creating your own player. Just so much fun with that game. And like I said, that generator, that demo disc, that for a lot of us people in the 90s, with with the disc-based games, that really became something big. You know, restaurants with Pizza Hut would sometimes give out demo discs for PlayStation games. There would be, sometimes you would just play the demo disc over and over again. But ECW Hardcore Revolution now, like I said, I talked about it before. It was basically WWF Attitude. Create a character and turn them all the way blue at your own risk. But it was pretty fun. They'd have the ability to have blood on it and some language, and you could actually replace the ropes with like barbed wire ropes. It was actually one of the first games where you could actually create an arena. Like, I think Attitude had that too, but it wasn't anything like major. But you could change the colors of the signs and the ropes and the mat and everything. You know, it's kind of like cool. You know, nowadays that's a normal feature in the games, but back then that was something revolutionary. Speaking of Hardcore Revolution, like I said, the buttons, layout, and everything. You know, it is what it is. I had fun with it, but definitely not the greatest wrestling game. Evil Dead. I can't remember the exact full title of it. I had this that they got me probably that Christmas, of the Dreamcast mess up. But this game is one that I couldn't do anything with for the longest time because it was so dark you couldn't see. I didn't even know where to go. There were monsters and I was killing with chainsaws and stuff. But it wasn't until later on that I got the idea to turn like the brightness on the TV like completely up to where like if you tried to watch like TV with it would give you a headache. But it lightened the screen just enough so I could figure out where the heck to go. But I still didn't get too far in the game. But that was still, that was one of them ones. Like, I know everybody loves Evil Dead and everything, but I never really watched the movie. I don't think I've ever seen the full Evil Dead movie. I know, shoot me now. I'm a horror fan and I've never seen that. But anyway, moving on. Another one that I got that must have been just on sale or something my parents saw that they thought I'd like was called Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage. This is like an anime type thing, so it's definitely not my thing, but the gameplay was actually fun. Like, me and my wife beat this game for the first time. Yeah, I had her help, but because I couldn't get it done on my own. And again, this was one of the ones I was playing before I had a memory card. But sword fighting different monsters and stuff. Like I said, not my normal cup of tea, but it was a fun game. A wrestling game I got around that same time was WWF Royal Rumble. Now this game was just arcade fun. It was actually, speaking of arcade, it actually was an arcade game. People are like, if you just look at it by itself as a video game, it's like, okay, what? This don't have much in it, but it was an arcade game. It was meant to be played in arcades, so arcade games don't have all these different stories and tons of modes. But you could do singles matches, you could do tag team matches, and you can do Royal Rumbles, and not much else. But you had the ability to like hit these buttons to call your partners in. I remember the Royal Rumble. I think you have like 9 people on screen at once. It was like like the most you ever could have in a wrestling video game at that time. But it was just complete arcadey wrestling. There was moves, but not too many of them. There's button combinations, but nowhere near like Attitude. Just a real fun game that a lot of people look at it because they see it on the Dreamcast. They look at it as like a regular console game, like compare it to the games at the time like SmackDown and No Mercy, and people are like, well, this kind of crappy, but it was an arcade port and it was really fun. And then one final game I want to talk about for Dreamcast was South Park Chef's Love Shack. This was a South Park themed game, obviously, but it was like a game show. And they'd have like risque questions, but they wouldn't like go over the top. It was rated T for teen, but it wasn't like explicit. How South Park is now, where I don't even think they bleep out the cuss words anymore. They used to, but this game was just so much fun. I found it on emulator for Nintendo 64, but it always crashes. I had to delete it because it annoys me. I can't even get through like 2 rounds. But it was, like I said, it was like a game show. With South Park characters. You could be Cartman or whoever you wanted to be. Such a fun time. And then as we move forward in the timeline, we get to PlayStation 2, which was technically my brother Josh's because I think he ended up getting that because I'd had the Dreamcast, which is fine because we played each other's stuff anyway. A lot of times we were living together, other times I would come over and play it. But of course, PlayStation 2 changed the game. One of the longest running systems of all time. Had some of the, I think it had, I don't know if it still has a record or if at least it did then, of like having the most games come out on it. But of course the WWF wrestling games for that were legendary. Of course they would move into WWE. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and then Here Comes the Pain later on was even better. Like these games you could, like some of the stuff you could do and jump off the SmackDown fist, fighting backstage. You can get on a train and go to WWF New York and jump on a helicopter above and jump onto people. There's one you can go backstage and you run into people and you can like start your own storylines there. There was they incorporated the first WWF draft when they had Raw vs. SmackDown before that Raw vs. SmackDown game. And just the moveset, especially Here Come the Shut Your Mouth and Here Comes the Pain, have different controller layouts. The Here Comes the Pain was really where the SmackDown vs. Raw series started, basically, like control wise. It was like, to me, that was perfect. I wish the game still played that way. But just the Creator Wrestler was so fun. Some of the funny entrances where you'd like doing the Booker T one, but you'd like blow up and like it'd blow you to the ring, or you come out in a shopping cart and fall over. Some of that crazy stuff. There would be wrestlers that they would have movesets for that you would recognize the moveset, like I'm trying to think of one for example, but like Sting and Bret Hart, you could tell it was their moves, but they would put them all in there so that way you just create the wrestler and you'd have all their moves. It was pretty cool. The publisher's kind of winking at you like we can't put this wrestler in there because they're not under contract or work somewhere else, but he's there. But and of course SmackDown vs. Raw came out, and the stories on that was so fun. SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, especially the general manager mode on that was amazing. And of course they have 7, 8, and 9. I think the 2010 was the last place. I don't know if 2010 was PlayStation 2. It might have been 3, but yeah, those SmackDown games are legendary. Speaking of that, the Tony Hawk games, my brother was so good at those. I just pushed buttons, I admit. He was, of course, into skateboarding. Him and Travis were definitely into skateboarding. I had a skateboard, but I sat down on it and rode down a hill. Okay. Although I will tell that Travis did the same thing, or was riding down the hill how you're supposed to, and wiped out, and ended up pooping himself and had to wipe his butt with leaves. Right in the middle of the street. I laughed, but if I would have done that, I would have wiped out even worse. But anyway, those Tony Hawk games are just legendary. So my brothers could freaking kick butt on those games. I sucked. Music Maker is one that I've seen at CD Game Exchange in Norwood. I love that place. That's where I bought my Super Nintendo and tons of DVDs, tons of games. But I seen this Music Maker game. I think I'd seen like an advertisement for it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a record producer. like it's so stupid. And you get the game and it's just basic stuff. But I remember that for some reason it had the theme song of the World's Greatest Tag Team, if you remember them, Team Angle, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. It had like a song that vaguely sounded like their theme song as like like the basic mode. They have presets on this Music Maker where I'm trying to be this record producer here. Didn't have any country stuff, so didn't have any stuff I was even listening to. But anyway, we made the Shelton Benjamin music. That game got played like 8 times and then forgotten about, and I've like saved money up to buy this thing. NASCAR from Dirt to Daytona. That was a fun game. Not only can you do the NASCAR Cup mode, but the lower series, the truck series, and like the dirt racing league. And if you're going through a career, you start at the dirt racing, and it's just so much fun, so much playability there with the different seasons. All-Star Baseball 2003. I remember that baseball game because you can collect baseball cards throughout it, by different accomplishments during the season, and I would just be like trying my hardest to collect as many cards as I could because, like I said, it was my brother's PlayStation, so during this time I was like 20 or something, so while he was at school, I was playing the PlayStation all day long while they were at school. But this is where I first played Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and San Andreas. Man, we're talking about some game-changing games there. I did play Grand Theft Auto 3 for Xbox. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But, Vice City, and then especially later San Andreas. Vice City was great. I like San Andreas because, you go in the water, you don't instantly die. You can swim. You can, do other things. You can go to the restaurant and eat. You can change your, hairstyle and everything. But, we had freaking notebooks full of cheat codes that we'd found for Vice City and then San Andreas, to unlock everything, all the weapons, tons of health, get instant 6 stars where the freaking military be coming after you, so you can get a tank, and eventually tanks aren't indestructible. Eventually it would get hit enough times where it'd start to catch on fire, then you got to run out, and then you're against everybody. The police, the SWAT team, the army. You can put in a code for a helicopter or an airplane, and you go fly into an area you hadn't unlocked, and it's instant 6 stars there too. And just, man, that was, everybody's like, oh, that game causes violence. It didn't cause us to be violent, just on the video game. It was so much fun. I did have a better experience with the San Andreas on Xbox, and I'll talk about that in a little bit and why. But first time I ever played it was PlayStation 2. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Oh, I love that game. That's the game where you can you're running from the cops, and you can also choose to be the cops. It was the first Need for Speed game I'd ever played, and it's so much fun. Sonic Unleashed I played on there too. It was towards the end of the PlayStation 2 run. As where Sonic at night would almost become like a werewolf version of Sonic. That game was crazy. And then I had the Sonic Mega Plus collection, which had all those classic Sonics on it. The original, the Genesis stuff from Sega CD, Sonic Spinball, and not the Sonic Adventure, I don't think, but it just had that whole collection of stuff, and it was really fun to play. And then the Xbox was, like I said, I had the Dreamcast, Josh had the PlayStation 2, Travis had the Xbox, and the Xbox was just so cool because one of my favorite features on it was the fact that you could like put your own music on it, because I had a hard drive just because it was made by Microsoft. So that was always fun. I would be putting my music on there. Travis didn't have a ton of CDs, but he'd have his stuff on there, and the music came and playing a lot of the games. But of course, talk about wrestling games. Xbox was notorious for not having the best wrestling games on the original Xbox. They had WWF Raw, which is kind of rushed. It's just a weird game where you only get one arena, and the play was so clunky. But it had weird, like, you could get like metal helmets as like weapons and put them on, and all these just strange weapons. It was just a weird game. And then Raw 2 was better. Like, the career mode on Raw 2 was really cool, but the gameplay was still kind of clunky. And then later on, I WrestleMania, or it might have been WWE WrestleMania, I think it was, WrestleMania 21. And just, again, with the clunky, there's something about clunky controls on those wrestling games. It just was not a fan. But one of the greatest games of all time, I played for the PlayStation 2, but I prefer it for Xbox, is ESPN NFL 2K5, where ESPN partnered with the 2K series, which of course started on Dreamcast, but by then Dreamcast was discontinued. And like I said, they were just making games. But this game was perfect. From the gameplay, you get your own crib, as it was called, where you can like get a paper football game or play video games within a video game inside your crib. And the just everything, and you could play your own music in there, have it playing during games, and also you could like change stuff for like music that plays during a touchdown celebration or during kickoffs or something, and you could have certain parts of a song that's on your Xbox, and you can go have it play a certain part of it, clip it. It was really cool. Of course, and then Madden, seeing how successful that was. See, the thing is I also loved the Madden from that year, Madden 2005. It was a really fun game. That was, I think, the one where they had first person, where you could see the game as a player. And like I said, those games were close to the same level, but I would still put NFL way higher than it. But it was probably the best Madden game they ever had. But Madden came out $50, $60, whatever it was. ESPN NFL 2K5 was $20. I mean, you couldn't beat that. $20 plus it's just a better game. That was the very last NFL 2K game, because after that, Madden got the exclusive rights to NFL, and they still own it, and it sucks. But they got scared, obviously, and football fans got cheated the past 20 years out of having good games. But yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about NFL 2K5. And like I said, I played the Grand Theft Auto games, Vice City 3, Vice City, and San Andreas on Xbox as well. And I love the versions on there because, again, you can take the music. A lot of people have great memories of the music from Vice City and San Andreas from the radio stations. But of course, I would always have my music playing on the background when I get in the cars. So much fun. And then another game that I'm not a golf fan at all, but I love Tiger Woods Pro Tour 2004. Again, I can have my music playing during it, which was great. But the controls were just so much fun. It was a game that was, it had some skill behind it. You had to have some skill, but it was kind of, you could play even if you didn't know anything about golf. It was I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it was easily playable for all ages. And of course, it had like little mini games too. You could play against people and the computer. Like it was so much fun. I guess I'm used to playing the old. I should talk about. I'll talk about when I'm talking about computer games. But if you remember like mini golf games from just online mini games. There was some of that in the Tiger Woods game. Just all around great game. We're talking about the PS3 now. I've owned one for over 10 years. Up until recently, when I started recording Sonic Adventure, recording me playing it for my channel, it's just been used as a Blu-ray DVD player, because the controller I got's kind of messed up. But there are some fun games on it. Some of the WWE games, especially 2K13 and 14, are the best. The last two great video games. 2K13 was all about the Attitude Era. It had, you could go back and relive some of those moments and have all those classic wrestlers on there. Of course, that's when PS3 and the Xbox One or the Xbox 360, which I don't have any experience with. I actually have one sitting in the closet that we were like given, but never used it. Never had any games for it. But yeah, this is when started with what's known now as microtransactions. Pay for the season pass to unlock everything type thing. But the last game that I think was my fun playing experience was WWE 2K14. It was like really fun. The controls were good. It took what 2K13 did and made it even better. And you got to relive some moments from like WrestleMania where it looked like you're actually playing the actual the cutscenes would be video game, but they would match it to look like live video. And then I have Sonic Adventures actually 1 and 2, the digital versions saved in my PlayStation 3. And it's actually the XD version of Sonic Adventure, which I think they came out with for Game Boy Advance, I think, where not only you got the game, but then there's like little bonus missions you can go back and do to earn things on it. Really fun. I've beaten both of those versions. That's if you see me playing the Sonic Adventure on here, that's what I'm playing it off of, is actually PlayStation 3. MLB 15, the show, was my first experience playing that, Sony's baseball game. A lot of fun playing that, but I had a messed up thing, some glitch in the game where even if I restarted it and everything and wiped all the data, it would start up again where I would be, running and the controllers wouldn't respond. And it wasn't in the controller itself. Or I would go to throw a pitch and it wouldn't go where it's supposed to go, and it would just get worse and worse as the more you played the game. It was some glitch in it or something. Not Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I don't remember the exact title on there, but it was sort of like the one I played for PlayStation 2, only like better graphics, and had like a story mode. Like I said, I need to pick that up again and play it. That was fun. And then Sonic Generations was a really fun game where you could do, depending on the level and depending on what you chose to do, you could do like a side-scrolling Sonic, and you could also do a 3D version of a Sonic of these different levels, and there would be like throwbacks to the Genesis era Sonic and the Dreamcast era Sonic. Just a lot of fun to be had in that. And then Nintendo Wii, which I technically had before PlayStation 3, but we had that, and of course the cool thing about that is you could actually play GameCube games on it, which I never owned a GameCube. But of course the game that comes packaged with it is Wii Sports. Everybody knows Wii Sports. That was so much fun. The bowling, boxing, baseball, tennis, golf. You create your own Mii's, as they're called. And I had a thing full of them, and ended up connecting to the internet. It was the first game system I ever had that connected to the internet. Around the same time, I realized I could connect PlayStation 2 and play some wrestling matches online. Back before they didn't make you only have like a year before they take it offline and you can't play anymore. Back then, you could play 5 or 6 years later on. But anyway, I ended up downloading a bunch of people's created Mii's of like characters like Michael Myers and all that stuff. Mario looking Mii. But so much fun with Wii Sports. And then had Mario Party 6, 7, and 8 for GameCube and Wii. You had the GameCube, I think it was 6 and 7. And of course you get the GameCube controllers to hook up to it. And then like Mario Party 8 for the Wii. Those games were so much fun. Played those with my wife and kids to death, man. We wore those games out. And then one game for Wii that me and my wife really loved was Mario Sports Mix. It was different, and we could team up in that. Different things like tennis, volleyball, different sports, and like we beat that whole game. We originally got it from when Blockbuster was doing their video game rentals through the mail. We would get it, and then we'd have to send it back, and then we'd get it again a couple times, and then eventually later on we ended up buying it. But Mario Sports Mix is so fun. And then Mario Kart for the Wii, man, that was fun. It was like, so much more advanced graphics. Love that one. And then there was different party games that you would play. Can't remember all the titles, but you just have different like little some you'd throw darts. The Wii was made for party games, really. Using the Mii's. It was just made for that type of environment. It was more a casual, different thing than like the dedicated PlayStation 3 and the Xbox and Xbox 360 and stuff. The Nintendo Wii was definitely they were trying something different with that, and it ended up lasting a long time. And then I did have a wrestling game on there, WWF SmackDown versus Raw 2008, and you're wondering like how does a motion controlled, because of course the Wii had the Wiimote and connected with the nunchuck. Like how does that connect with wrestling? Do you wrestle the controller? No, sometimes you shake things. Like it wasn't the greatest thing ever, and it wasn't even the full. I don't even think it was the full game. I think the SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 for PlayStation 2 had like more features. That was another thing with some of the Nintendo games that were, games on all systems. Sometimes you didn't get the full one on the Nintendo because of the Wiimote. They had to convert everything to that. And of course you could buy the classic controller too to play stuff, but never had that. But one of the greatest things about it was I could download the old Nintendo games. Like I downloaded the original 3 Mario games and would play on there. And of course you turn the controller sideways so it has the same layout almost as a original Nintendo controller. So that was fun too. And we did have a Wii U. It didn't last long before it crapped out on us, but we had Mario Kart 8 on it, and that was so much fun. That and the Mario Party, where you could actually be Bowser, and it would be like on the screen, because the Wii U was like this big like handheld thing, but the actual game was shown on TV. That was so much fun. NES Remix we had for that. That one, it was where you could play these older games, but they would like tweak them and have as the games go on, it would get weirder and weirder. Like I remember to this day, it was one of the funniest things ever. But you expect when you play the Birdo level, or Mario 2, when you're Birdo, you would jump on the egg, throw it, and you hit Birdo, and Birdo go away, and the I don't know if it was the eagle or the bird, whatever it was on the thing, would open its mouth, and you go in, you'd end the level. Well, no, on this one level, I killed Birdo, I was expecting that. The bird flies off the wall at my character, and I literally scream at the top of my lungs and throw the controller. Like, and my wife's off at me. But, like, it was, like, so unexpected. Like, I don't know what it was, but I made, like, every hair on my body stand at end and scream and throw the controller. Like, it'd be like right now, like if I was sitting here and all of a sudden my camera just lifted up in the air and flew at me, I'd like the unexpected I'm not good at. And then another game we had for that was a really fun Mario Maker. She had a lot more fun than I did at it because she's more creative when it comes to doing stuff like that. But it was fun doing that, and then fun. You could download people's levels that they made and uploaded and try to beat them, and it's just like Mario Maker was so much fun. You could play the it was the old style of Mario 1, the very first Mario, but like it's like Mario on crack. You can make your own stuff. But like I said, the last game system that I have right now, I say the last, like I'll never get another one. I probably will, but PS5s are still so expensive. Plus, I'd like to own a Switch as well. I know they're on Switch 2 now, but the newest video game system I have is PlayStation 4, and MLB The Show 22 is the latest baseball game I have. Sad to find out that because I was really looking forward to it because you could actually like create a baseball stadium. That was like one of the things I've always wanted to do, but you can only do it on the PS5 version of it, not the PS4 version. They say it's because it can't handle it, but I think it's just because they want you to buy the PS5. But anyway, a super fun game. I'm still playing through it. I got a character that's already like broken the home run record and everything. So much replayability on that baseball game. It's really cool. The latest wrestling game I have is WWE 2K22, and it's pretty fun. It's just, it's not, like I said, the last great wrestling game, in my opinion, they made was 2K14. It's, it is what it is. It's still fun, but the controls are kind of hard on them. They keep changing the controls and everything else. It just, wish they'd go back to SmackDown versus Raw, Here Comes the Pain. Those controls, they were perfect. They still would work today. But I have Madden 20. That's pretty fun to play. But like I said, I'd still today would prefer to go back and play 2K5 than play Madden 20. And that's sad that I can say that, but EA really shot themselves in the foot with their fans when it comes to quality when they bought those exclusive rights. I know I keep saying that. And of course, I don't have any more, but I did have Rock Band. That was so much fun. The drums, the guitar, everything. Never had any of the Guitar Hero games, but I loved Rock Band. When our PlayStation 4, one of the original ones, broke, we couldn't afford to get another one, and was selling off all our stuff. I ended up selling off the Rock Band game and all the pieces, and that thing was expensive. So I wish I would have kept that. But of course, can't talk about PlayStation 4 without talking about PlayStation Plus. I know Xbox has their Xbox Live system or series, whatever you want to call it. But subscription, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, like I said, PlayStation Plus, you can find a lot of good classic games, and a lot of times they'll give out free games, maybe a year or two after they've been, released, but still pretty fun. You can find some hidden gems in there. Like one I'd started doing, TMNT Shredder's Revenge is one of those. And then there's one that has all the old classic Turtles games on it. I need to get PlayStation Plus back so I can start playing those. It's just so expensive now. Because it's really not worth it unless you get the higher price one. It's like $20. You don't get all the old classic games if you don't get the full experience. But anyway, last thing I do want to talk about is some PC gaming. And mobile gaming too. I don't have a PC made for gaming, so what I can do on mine is limited. But I remember back in the old days, one of the first experiences on the internet that didn't involve school was going to the library and playing on CandyStand.com, which was run by the ones that had like Lifesavers, Cream Savers, if you remember them, and I think Hershey was involved. I think it was a candy company, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. But you go to their Lifesavers was another one. You go to their website, and of course it'd be a giant advertisement for their candy, but there'd be games like I was talking about before, like mini golf, bowling. It was like one of the coolest things ever. Is just go to the library and get on the internet and go to CandyStand.com. What if I wasn't going to a wrestling website? I gotta check WWF.com, WCW.com. No, but those are so much fun, and of course everybody remembers the built-in games from the old Microsoft games like Minesweeper, where you didn't really exactly know what you're doing. At least I didn't. There's either people that knew exactly what they were doing on that game, or people that are just like pushing buttons. And of course, pinball was a built-in game on there. But of course, everybody knows solitaire. I call it solitary, but the Windows solitary. Just a time-wasting game, but so much fun. And of course, I remember Steve playing this game, Redneck Rampage. It was like these hillbillies shooting game. We would just sit and watch him play that. And WCW Nitro he had for PC. We'd watch him play. I think he also had the WrestleMania arcade game too. But yeah, he was big into that. Our stepdad Steve, he was big into that because he could build computers. So he would always get his computers where they could play all the games. I think one of the there were some driving games that he played for that too. I can't remember exactly what it was. Some racing games too, but a lot of fun on there. And mostly what I'm using my computer for is not video games, but when I do, I got emulators for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color. I haven't figured out the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 1, because you got to have the ISO image for the disc and everything, and just my computer's kind of clunky and it's really old, so I don't even want to attempt to try to power it too much, and I just can't afford one of them gaming computers. But of course, everybody's doing mobile gaming now. It's nothing new, but back in 2005, 2006, when I had my first cell phone, you get those. Of course, you have the Snake game comes with the phone, but then like little basic games, and then of course as phones progressed, the games progressed, and now you can, get full quality games on there and emulators on your phone, and of course all those apps, and like I said, I play Yahtzee with buddies and Sorry World, and you can play all kinds of stuff on there and find all kinds of apps. Just you basically you have if you got a phone, you got a game in your hand 24 hours a day. So many great memories today talking about these video games. Sorry, it's kind of been all over the place. It's just my memories of the stuff. Hopefully maybe some of these unlock some memories with you, either the games I'm talking about, or you're like, oh, I remember playing this game, this made me feel this way. It's fun to go down memory lane. Like I said, hopefully my interview with my brother and my wife will be in this somewhere. I'll figure out the best place to put it. We may be talking about some of the stuff I already talked about twice on there. I know this is just me talking. It's been like an hour and 45 minutes. I'm sorry talking forever, but just kind of wanted to go through all the stuff I wanted to go through, and I didn't even spend much time on each one. It's just you get talking about stuff, and you realize over your life how many games you've played. And I'm not even like a gamer where I have all these there's people even younger than me that have played probably 10 times the amount of games I've played. Like I said, I suck at the video games normally, but I have a lot of fun with it too. So it's not like it's like I'm so bad that it interrupts me enjoying it. It makes it, when I succeed on there, that much more better, knowing how bad I suck at it. But anyway, yeah, from my very first game system owned in the early 90s to owning a PS4 now, video games will always be part of my life. And you think that the graphics are now like where they can't get much better. Who knows what they can do in the future? And with all this AI stuff, who knows where video games are going? But I'm sure they'll always be around. And I just thank you guys for watching this bonus episode. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on the next one.